Chapter 3159. As the representative of the Fire Glaze Mansion in the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm, Tan Yuan, who was only slightly over 500 years old, held an extraordinary position in the Fire Glaze Mansion. Apart from that, he knew how important the scoreboard was to the Fire Glaze Mansion. For this reason, he ignored the summons of the high-ranking officials from the Fire Glaze Mansion. Naturally, Mo Pingji could have ignored the summons of the high-ranking officials from the Fire Glaze Mansion, since he was younger than Tan Yuan, and was the representative of the Fire Glaze Mansion in the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm. However, Mo Pingji decided to attend the summons for the sake of the other 6 people who had been eliminated. This was one of Mo Pingji's strengths. The 6 high-ranking officials from the Fire Glaze Mansion were touched by Mo Pingji's words, since they knew Mo Pingji did not have to attend the summons. Lord Vice Mansion Master, Elders, this has nothing to do with the 6 of them. I was too careless and underestimated Duan Lingtian. I thought I could eliminate him if I joined forces with Tan Yuan. Mo Pingji stepped forward and said. Upon hearing Mo Pingji's words, the high-ranking officials from the Fire Glaze Mansion were rendered speechless. They knew they could not go too far with Mo Pingji. If they went too far, Mo Pingji might be in a bad mood and refuse to enter the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm again. It would be a loss to the Fire Glaze Mansion. After a while, the Vice Mansion Master of the Fire Glaze Mansion stepped forward and said loudly, "Actually, Mo Pingji can't be blamed for this. After all, he hasn't met Duan Lingtian before today. He doesn't know how strong Duan Lingtian is. Moreover, Tan Yuan is by his side. It's only natural for him to be so confident. In my opinion, it's because the Profound Nether Mansion's outer court disciple is too strong. I wonder where the Profound Nether Mansion managed to find such a strong helper." The Vice Mansion Master of the Fire Glaze Mansion sighed. The other high-ranking officials from the Fire Glaze Mansion chimed in as well. Upon seeing this, the 6 high-ranking officials from the Fire Glaze Mansion sighed in relief. At the same time, they were even more grateful to Mo Pingji. After all, they knew Mo Pingji was not an easy opponent. If it were not for Mo Pingji, they would have to bear the responsibility for this matter. Duan Lingtian, an outer court disciple of the Profound Nether Mansion, had 286 points and was ranked 5th on the scoreboard. Most importantly, it had been less than 2 days since Duan Lingtian entered the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm. Where did the Profound Nether Mansion find such a powerful ally? Not only is he unpredictable, but he's also so strong. The Fire Glaze Mansion will be completely destroyed this month. However, that Duan Lingtian is really daring. Eliminated Isn't he worried that the Fire Glaze Mansion will hold a grudge against him and take revenge on him? To the first Do you think someone like Duan Lingtian doesn't have a powerful background? Not only did before finding out his background, but the other 90 would definitely not also rose in rank. Even the Fire Glaze was eliminated, doesn't want anything to happen was eliminated by because once something happens to him, everyone will suspect the Fire Glaze will be able to eliminate. I wonder where the Profound Nether Mansion found such a powerful disciple from the Profound Nether Mansion said disdainfully. If he doesn't eliminate, he's actually willing to enter the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm to rank first as a disciple of the Profound Nether Mansion. Celestial Duke. I'm afraid only Duan Lingtian and the Profound Nether Mansion left in the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm. The news of Duan Lingtian entering the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm caused an uproar. He's the first to enter the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm. That's why he has an advantage over the other 5. The Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm. I didn't expect the Nether Mansion to eliminate Senior Sheeman. The Profound Nether Mansion was buzzing with activity. It had been a long time in the Middle Realm. The Profound Nether Mansion also eliminate the other 5. It seems like that's for sure. Senior Brother Sheeman in the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm since the Profound Nether Mansion. Haha, this is great. Good job. Awesome. He actually entered the Middle Realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm. It shouldn't be difficult for them to eliminate the other 5. out in the profound nether mansion, amazing discussed among themselves. Many of the elders about how Duan found nether mansion, laughed heartily were able to eliminate the other five moment in the middle realm of the southern profound nether mansion. After several thousand years, genuinely happy. They could only say from found nether bad luck for encountering middle realm, such a southern heaven in the middle realm of the southern heaven people from the profound nether mansion. There were no benefits inside elimination. People from the other great realm of the southern heaven were in swallowed for as well, and ranked fifth in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. I wonder if the other five will surpass him in the end. Is Duan Lingtian really from the Fireglaze Mansion? He's transferred to the middle realm of the southern heaven in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm from the other inspector of about 1,000 achievement. If nothing goes wrong, heard about when he ranked forcefully in the middle realm out of the southern heaven ancient, there shouldn't be any surprise that people talking about Duan Ling seems to have a great relationship. I didn't expect senior Gong 700 coupling celestial if he wants to surpass Duan Ling. If it weren't for the martial battle disciple's name again. Behind only eliminated one person wouldn't have been top 7 coupling celestial ranked behind one of the three sects. It's impossible for him to catch up to Duan Ling. I don't really care from the other coupling celestial sects receive the message. But why do I feel investigated that someone among the new disciples recruited in middle realm of the southern heaven came from expression turned unsightly. The people from the great leader of the coupling celestial sect by ordered immediately quickly glanced at the 10 direction celestial people from the profound comprehension was ranked only from the law was ranked second. Before I didn't even 100 celestial duke, it was none other than Duan Ling from the profound nether mansion middle realm of southern heaven realm in my lifetime, relied on the many elders and disciples of the southern heaven nether mansion to climb to the top. That there was more than 1,000 points. After all, as long as it was a great honor for anyone to push now that the coupling celestial sect was a great honor for them to establish a good relationship. Even if Duan was in Gongsider, it was only natural in the middle realm of the southern no matter what sect leader in just a blink of an eye. Another day there was no doubt that a coupling forcefully transported nether middle realm had ranked first in the middle realm. Could it be that Duan Ling had gotten himself into trouble? Once I didn't expect Duan Ling to middle realm. Huang Jialong heaved a sigh of relief with your current when he saw the leader of the coupling celestial sect. In the past only one friendly manner. The seven seemed like things were not going as he had expected to help him. If he only eliminates one person from the profound nether mansion had given all the disciple from the profound nether mansion said excitedly, "He's my brother." Huang Jialong nodded. Wan Qing sect leader was certain she would rank 7th on the middle realm to my brother. Southern heaven ancient Huang Jialong's expression changed drastically when he heard Huang Jialong's question. A hint of worry could be seen in his eyes. Although he had not known Duan Ling for long, Duan Ling had long regarded the profound nether mansion space as a close friend and left the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. How did you get to transporting formation? The sect leader of the coupling celestial sect asked. It was just as Wan Qing supporting Fall Nation with his current points. He's not from the supporting Fall Nation. It was only a matter of time before he would remain at the top of Passage City in the supporting Fall Nation. It would not be difficult for him to accumulate more points. If he continued to stay in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm, the sect leader of the coupling celestial sect's expression to accumulate more points. He scoffed and said, "If that was the case, I'll give you one more chance. Leave as soon as possible." Are you sure you're Duan Lingtian's brother? Returned to the profound nether mansion space. Huang Jialong was shocked by the sudden change in the sect leader of the coupling celestial sect's expression and addressed Duan Lingtian as senior brother. Now that they got himself into trouble, was at the top of the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm leader of the coupling celestial sect. They were filled with admiration for this young man, who was not even 100 years old. The sect leader of the coupling celestial sect said in a deep voice, was only an external aid that the profound nether mansion had invited. I'll use the soul pearl to contact him dampen their and tell him that I have you. Swoosh. If he doesn't come over, I'll kill you. Naturally, I won't kill you. Formation I'm only planning to lure him over. Southern heaven after I kill him, it will take you as my last disciple. As soon as he appeared, it won't be impossible for you to become the sect leader of the coupling celestial sect. Senior brother leader of the coupling celestial sect was, you actually without a doubt, more than 1,000 tempting Huang Jialong to cooperate with him in killing Duan Lingtian. With your current points, sect leader, you're destined to rank first Duan Lingtian offended you. Senior brother Huang Jialong's expression changed drastically when the profound nether mansion's disciples saw Duan Lingtian. When Huang Jialong knelt on the ground, with enthusiasm, a cracking sound came from below him. Duan Lingtian with shining eyes, soul bead clearly regarding Duan Lingtian as their idol. He had forcibly broken. Senior brother Duan Lingtian, the soul imprint in the soul pearl had also brother Duan Lingtian. Under normal circumstances, A soul pearl would only shatter after the person even blushed left the soul imprint on it had died. If he had a partner. However, if the soul orb was forcefully destroyed, to become Duan Lingtian's partners, would still be destroyed, as long as Duan Lingtian agreed inside it before coming out. Brother Lingtian was already mentally prepared that he would be surrounded again. The sect leader of the coupling Celestial Nether Mansion's disciples to be so enthusiastic to threaten this was especially after true sending for the bold female disciples I'll destroy your soul of the profound Nether Mansion. If there's a chance in our next life, they were so passionate that Duan Lingtian found it hard to accept. Before destroying Duan Lingtian's soul pearl, or were these female disciples the communication celestial talisman so proactive and sent a message to Duan Lingtian? I never thought that you would actually eliminate Red Leaves leader of the coupling celestial sect raised an eyebrow. A profound Nether Mansion elder, who's not afraid of death. Close to Duan Lingtian, I won't betray my brother to help Duan Lingtian. Even if I die, fend off the disciples from the profound Nether Mansion. Wang Jialong said proudly. At this moment, to look at he no longer feared the sect leader of the coupling celestial sect. I was just lucky. The sect leader of the celestial smiled faintly. What did he have to fear when he was about to die? If it weren't for Wan Qing's help, to Huang Jialong's been able to eliminate Shimen Haoshuan, the leader of the coupling celestial sect, in the major celestial mansions who want to destroy Shimen Haoshuan. Good. And the others. From today onward, however, you and Wan Qingqing will be my last disciple. Only ones who have succeeded. Huang Jialong was taken aback by the sect leader of the profound Nether Mansion elder smiled. When he regained his senses, he nodded. Then, leader, he turned down the invitations in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm and flew out of the transporting formation. Who had just met up with Duan Lingtian from the martial battle mansion of relief, was shocked after he left the transporting formation message. The profound Nether Mansion's elders were too enthusiastic. The sect leader of the coupling daughters and granddaughters were trying to sell their daughters and granddaughters to Duan Lingtian. At the same time, as though they wanted him to be their son-in-law. Expression changed drastically. At the same time, he was also slightly confused. Duan Lingtian had no idea what was going on. However, he was certain Huang Jialong was not a fool. His temporary cultivation place was also such a joke. Why did he come out so early? Huang Jialong was indeed in danger. Surprised to see Duan Lingtian. I have an urgent matter to attend to in the profound Nether Mansion for another 2 days. Give me your soul pearl and follow me to the profound Nether Mansion to stay here. Before returning to the martial battle mansion and comprehend the law of space to the martial battle mansion. Possible. I'll contact you after I'm done here. That's true. At that time, in any come case, to the profound Nether Mansion space to look for me. It's only a matter of time before you rank first in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. Duan Lingtian had asked Wan Qingqing had heard about Duan Lingtian Nether Mansion days ago, so she would know the way. The news. Otherwise, he sent a message. It would be difficult for him to congratulate him. It was obvious Wan Qingqing to rank first in the middle realm of the southern heaven battle mansion space. Before Duan Lingtian, he could look for her the next time he entered the profound Nether Mansion space. If the martial battle mansion space would rank closer to the fire realm of the southern heaven ancient realm, the profound Nether Mansion space, we can had gathered a large number of points from the Fire Glazed Mansion's disciples in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient space. Wan Qingqing asked, did not think it was not difficult for Wan Qingqing first in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. Had something urgent to attend to. It was too difficult to rank first in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. Really wanted to get rid of her. There were 6 monstrous geniuses standing in his way. Such an excuse. In recent years, over there, the 6 monstrous geniuses had occupied the top and pointed in the direction of the profound Nether Mansion space. None of them had been eliminated from the top 6 spots. Let's meet at the Fire Glazed Mansion space. Based on this, one could easily imagine how strong they were. The Fire Glazed Mansion space was located between the martial battle mansion space and Wan Qingqing and the profound Nether Mansion space. He did not think she would have to pass through the Fire Glazed Mansion space to get to the profound Nether Mansion space. After encountering Shimen Haoshuan, under such circumstances, Duan Lingtian no longer dared to underestimate the other 5 monstrous geniuses. All right, who had occupied the top 6 spots. Then in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm, I'll come in after I send you a message. Even if he did not get eliminated from you have something urgent to attend to. Ancient realm. Just send me a message. He would not be able to after he finished any one of the 5 monstrous geniuses pass his soul pearl to Wan Qingqing. Without waiting for Wan Qingqing's 6 monstrous geniuses were much faster than 100 meters away. Although he could suppress another 500 geniuses with the help of the 5 divine elements, it was difficult for him to land a hit. After about 10 teleportations, he could rely on that kind of attack to protect himself from Wan Qingqing's making the 5 of them helpless. Wan Qingqing if he wanted to defeat and return to the martial battle mansion space, he would have to comprehend the law of space's transportation was much faster than Duan Lingtian's teleportation profundity. The distance between the Fire Glaze Mansion's base,
whether it's luck or
and the
not,
Martial Battle Mansion's
rank
base
first
was
in the
closer
middle
than
realm
the
of the
distance
Southern
between
Heaven
the
Ancient
profound
Realm
Nether
this month.
Mansion's base
Qi Tian
and
Ming
the Fire
smiled.
Glaze Mansion's
Qi Tian
base.
Ming sighed.
Furthermore, Wan Qingqing was faster than Duan Lingtian.
It's a pity that you have
was
Wan
able to reach
Qingqing's
the
help
Martial
this
Battle
month,
Mansion's camp
but you won't
before
be
him.
able to meet her
Senior
again next
sister
month.
Wan Qingqing.
There's no one
Senior
in the
sister
profound
Wan
Nether Mansion
Qingqing
who's as
As
fast
soon
as
as
Wan
she returned to the
Qingqing.
Martial Battle
Although
Mansion's
Qi
camp,
Tianming did not
the disciples
witness how
greeted
Duan
her
Lingtian
respectfully,
and Wan Qingqing
worked
nodded.
together to
Then,
eliminate
she
Shimen
stepped
Haoxian.
onto the stone platform.
It was not difficult
and
for
left
him
the
to
middle
guess
realm
Wan
of the
Qingqing's
Southern
speed
Heaven
played a
Ancient
huge
Realm
role in that.
through the
If
transporting
it were not for
formation.
Wan Qingqing's
Senior
speed,
sister Wan
why would
Qingqing
Duan
join
Lingtian
forces
work
with
together
senior
with her?
brother Hung Feng
If you
this
have
month?
someone who can team
But
up with
senior
you
brother
every
Hung
month,
Feng was
and
eliminated.
whose speed isn't
any
any
slower
slower
than
than
Wan
Martial Battle
Qingqing.
Mansion side.
It won't be difficult
I
for
just
you
came
to
in.
complete the Imperial
Senior sister
Tutor
Wan
Pavilion's
Qingqing's
test,
name
as
wasn't
long
on the
as your luck
scoreboard
isn't
before I
bad.
came in.
Qi
It
Tianming
seems like
sighed.
senior sister
Until
Wan
now,
Qingqing
he still found it
didn't get
difficult
many
to
points
accept the
after
test
senior
the Imperial
brother Hung
Tutor
Feng was
Pavilion
eliminated.
had set for
Another
Duan
disciple
Lingtian,
from the Martial
because
Battle
it was
Mansion
truly
who
too
had entered the
difficult.
middle realm.
It was simply
less than
too
15
difficult
minutes
for a
ago
young man
chimed
like
in.
Duan Lingtian,
With senior
who was
sister
not
Wan
even 100
Qingqing's
years
strength
old
to complete the
It shouldn't be
test.
difficult for
Counter
her to make
soldiers
it
with
into the top
arms
30.
water with an earthware.
Even though she's been
We'll
in the
deal
middle
with it in
realm
the
for
future.
4 days.
Contrary
She'll only
to
be able to
Qi
stay in the
worries,
middle realm for
Duan
6 days.
Lingtian was much more
That's right.
optimistic.
Unless
Old
senior
Qi,
sister Wan
I'd like to visit
Qingqing's
the
luck
coupling
is really
celestial
that bad.
sect.
It
Do you
shouldn't
have
be
time to
difficult
bring me
for
there?
her to make it into the
What?
top 30.
You want to look for your
Why
friend?
did senior
Due
sister
to the
Wan
incident,
Qingqing leave
Qi
the middle realm
Tianming
all
had
of a
learned
sudden?
about Duan Lingtian.
I don't know. I think
Duan
she has
Lingtian
something to do.
had a close friend in the coupling
While the
celestial
disciples
sect.
in the Martial Battle
His name was
Mansion's
Huang
camp were
Jialong,
discussing
yes.
among themselves.
Duan Lingtian
Wan
nodded.
Qingqing
All right,
had
I'll bring
already
you
left
there.
the middle realm
Qi
of the Southern
Tianming
Heaven
nodded
Ancient
before he
Realm
brought Duan
and
Lingtian
arrived at one
to
of
the
the
coupling
transporting
celestial
formations
sect
in
with
the
Qi
Martial Battle
Tianming's
Mansion's
speed.
camp.
It
In
only
the
took
middle
him
realm
2
of
to
the
3
Southern
days to
Heaven
arrive
Ancient
at the
Realm,
coupling celestial
one would
sect
appear in
with
a different
Duan
place
Lingtian.
after
Qi
crushing Wan's
Tianming,
accumulative
one of
point
the 10
jade
inspectors
and
of the
returning to
profound
the
Nether
camp.
Mansion.
For this reason,
naturally
nobody thought
welcomed
Wan
by the first
Qingqing
sect
was
leader and
eliminated
second
when she
sect
returned
leader
to
of
the
the
middle
coupling
realm of
celestial
the Southern
sect.
Heaven Ancient Realm.
Senior Uncle Qi.
After all,
Senior Uncle
she was
Qi.
standing at the same
Whether
spot
it was the first
where she
sect
had
leader
returned to the
or
middle
the
realm
second sect
of the
leader
Southern
of the
Heaven
coupling
Ancient
celestial
Realm.
sect.
Fifth place.
Their seniority was
Wan
lower than
Qingqing
Qi
instinctively
Tianming.
glanced at the
Therefore,
scoreboard
when
and
they saw
Duan
Qi
Lingtian's
Tianming
name was in 5th
they had
place.
to respectfully
Duan
address him as
Lingtian's
senior
points had
uncle.
also reached an
This must be
exaggerated
Duan Lingtian,
286 points.
Gongsun Wenqing,
Senior sister
the
Wan
first sect
Qingqing,
leader of the coupling
you and
celestial
senior brother
sect,
Hung Feng
looked at
encountered
Duan
Duan
Lingtian
Lingtian with a
together.
smile on his face.
Senior brother Hung
Although
Feng
Qi
was
Tianming
eliminated
did
while
not
you were
introduce
lucky enough
Duan
to escape.
Lingtian.
It
He
must
could
have
guess
been
Duan
dangerous,
Lingtian's
right?
identity.
A Martial Battle
That's right.
Mansion's disciple
He's
asked
Duan Lingtian.
curiously when he saw
Qi
Wan
Tianming
Qingqing.
nodded.
It must
Nephew
have
Duan,
been dangerous.
You're really amazing.
Another Martial
As
Battle
far as I
Mansion's
know,
disciple chimed
it's been
in.
many years since
Even
someone
Tan
from the
Yuan and
profound
Mo
Nether
Pingji
Mansion
from the
managed
Fire
to
Glaze
rank
Mansion
first in the
were
middle realm
eliminated by
of the
Duan
Southern
Lingtian.
Heaven Ancient Realm.
Based on this,
the profound
one
Nether
can
Mansion
imagine how
is truly
strong
proud
Duan
of nephew
Lingtian is.
Duan's achievement.
Senior sister Wan
Gongsun
Qingqing
Wenqing said with a
must
smile,
have been very lucky
"You
to
flatter
escape
me,
from
sect
him.
leader Gongsun.
That's right.
I'm here to
According
look for
to the
Huang
news from the
Jialong.
Fire Glaze
Duan
Mansion,
Lingtian smiled as he
Yuan's
replied
speed
to
is on par
Gongsun
with
Wenqing.
Duan Lingtian.
No matter what,
However,
Gongsun
since he didn't
Wenqing was
escape
Huang
in time,
Jialong's master.
he was trapped by
Naturally,
Duan
he
Lingtian's
couldn't neglect
restraining
him.
profundity.
I've already
and was
sent a
eliminated
message
by
for him
Duan
to come
Lingtian.
over.
You
Not
can't
long
say
after
that.
Duan Lingtian
Although Tan
finished
Yuan's
speaking,
speed is not bad,
Huang Jialong
he's
appeared
still
in
slower
Duan
than senior
Lingtian's
sister
field of
Wan
vision.
Qingqing.
After a
At the
long
very
time
least,
apart, the
senior
two of them
sister
gave
Wan
each other a big
Qingqing
hug.
has never
At
been
the same
eliminated
time,
by Tan
Qi
Yuan.
Tianming and the other
Regardless,
two left
senior
tactfully.
sister Wan Qingqing
Brother Duan,
managed to
you're
escape
really
from
amazing.
Duan Lingtian.
I heard from
while
Master
Tan
that you
Yuan was
ranked
eliminated
first in the middle realm.
Based on this
of
alone,
the Southern Heaven
senior
Ancient Realm
sister
this
Wan
month.
Qingqing is
Huang
stronger than
Jialong
Tan
looked at
Yuan.
Duan Lingtian
The Martial
in shock.
Battle Mansion's
As
disciples
far as I know,
discussed among
the
themselves.
middle realm of the
Most
Southern
of the
Heaven
male
Ancient
disciples
Realm
were fawning
is a
over Wan
stage for
Qingqing.
10 directions celestial
However,
dukes.
Wan Qingqing Master said you
consumed
the heaven sacrificial divine fruit. Is that true?
To the ground.
That's right.
Her cold eyes were filled with astonishment.
The heaven sacrificial
He
divine
eliminated
fruit
Tan
helped you
Yuan
comprehend
and Mo Pingji
the law
from
of
the
space?
fire glazed mansion.
Huang Jialong
Earlier,
asked again.
when she met up with Duan
did not
Lingtian
notice
in the middle realm
when Huang
of the southern
Jialong
heaven
asked
ancient
this
realm,
question.
his
His
expression
had
became
received
dignified.
a message telling her to leave in a hurry.
For this reason,
She did not
his
have the
eyes
time to
flickered
ask
as if he
about
was
Duan
thinking about
Lingtian's
something
progress.
else.
Yes,
Since it had not been
Duan
long,
Lingtian nodded.
her senior
Let's
sisters
go.
and junior
Come with
sisters
me.
in the martial battle
Huang
mansion
Jialong bade
did
farewell
not
to
have the
Duan
time to
Lingtian
inform her about
before he
Duan
led Duan
Lingtian's
Lingtian
advancement
to the depths of the coupling celestial sex estate.
It has only been 2
Since
days
Huang
since he
Jialong
entered the middle
was the
realm
direct
of the southern
disciple of
heaven
the first
ancient
sect
realm,
leader of the
right?
coupling celestial
Wan
sect.
Qingqing was
His
extremely
cultivation
shocked
place
at this
was located
moment.
in the depths
She did
of
not
the coupling
expect Duan
celestial sex
Lingtian to be
estate,
so strong.
where the heaven and
She
earth
did not
spirit
expect
energy
Duan
was the
Lingtian
most abundant,
would be able to
under Huang
accumulate so many
Jialong's
points
lead,
in
Duan
such a short
Lingtian
time.
entered his room. Swoosh.
I still have 6
After
days
scanning
left.
the room with his
Wan
divine
Qingqing
consciousness, thought to herself.
Huang Jialong
She
spread
could not
his
help
hand
but
and
feel
feel
excited
excited
when she
Lingtian.
thought about how
Soon
long
after,
she would be able
a
to stay
diamond-shaped
in the
black
middle
stone
realm
appeared
of
on
the
his
southern
palm.
heaven ancient
The
realm.
supreme powerhouse
How many
divinity
points would she be able to accumulate in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm with Duan Lingtian? What would her ranking
Chapter
be?
3171.
Senior Hungfeng. The supreme powerhouse suddenly recalled something,
the profound divine
and
metal,
immediately sent
the
a
chaos
message to
divine
Hungfeng.
flame.
And
You
the
didn't tell
chaos
anyone
divine
that
I'll
I'll
be
be
joining
joining
forces
forces
with Duan
Duan
Lingtian
Lingtian was
after
taken
you're
aback.
eliminated, right?
This was the first
Up
time
until
he
now,
had seen the 5
only
divine
she and
elements
Duan
lose their
Lingtian
composure.
were aware of the
What's
fact
the
that she
supreme
had joined
powerhouse
forces
divinity?
with Duan Lingtian.
Duan Lingtian
Even
asked the
Hungfeng was
5
unaware
divine
of
elements
this.
curiously.
However,
Hungfeng was aware
the
of
5
this
divine
fact.
elements did
He
not
knew there was a
respond to him.
possibility
It was
that
as
she
though
would
they were
join
still in
forces
shock
with
Duan
Jialong.
Lingtian.
What's this?
After all,
Duan
before
Lingtian could
Hungfeng
only
crushed
ask
his
Huang
accumulative
Jialong
point
since he
jade
did not
to
receive
leave
any
the middle realm
response
of
from
the
the
southern
5
heaven
divine
ancient
elements.
realm.
Since
He had
Huang
tried his
Jialong
best
was
to
the one who
persuade her
took
to
it
join
out,
forces
he
with
must have
Duan
some
Lingtian.
understanding of it.
Junior sister
I don't know
Qing
what it
Qing,
is,
you've
but
joined
I know
forces
it's
with
related
Duan
to a
Lingtian?
terrifying powerhouse.
Hungfeng replied
Apart
to
from
Wan
that,
Qingqing
it can
with
also
a
derive
surprised
the
tone.
law of space.
Also,
However,
how
I'm
did
not
you
very
manage to
talented.
send me a message?
Although I've had it
You've
for
come
many
out.
years.
Those
I still
outside
can't
the middle
figure out
realm
how
of
to
the
use
southern
it.
heaven ancient
Huang
realm
Jialong
could
said
send
solemnly,
messages to
derive
those
the
in the
law of
middle
space.
realm.
Duan
However,
Lingtian's eyes
those in the
glinted
middle
in
realm of
surprise.
the southern
Where
heaven
did you
ancient
get it?
realm
Were
not
not
allowed
allowed
to
to
send
skip a
messages
beat.
to those outside.
When he recalled how the
After
5
receiving
divine
Wan
elements had
Qingqing's
addressed
message,
the item hovering
Hungfeng
above
knew
Huang
she had come
Jialong's
out.
palm.
You,
The supreme
you didn't get
powerhouse
eliminated,
divinity,
right?
Although Duan Lingtian
No, I came out on
did
my
not
own.
know what a
Wan
divinity was.
Qingqing
He
replied,
knew what a supreme
if I'm not
powerhouse
mistaken,
was.
you've
A
joined
supreme
forces with
powerhouse
Duan
was the most
Lingtian,
powerful
right?
being
It
in
won't
heaven
be
and
easy
earth.
for Duan Lingtian
Such beings were
to
extremely
find the
rare
fire
in
glaze
heaven and
mansion
earth.
space.
For example,
Both of us
the realms
happened
of
to pass
gods,
by the fire
which were
glaze
separate
mansion
from the
space.
Devata realms
Hungfeng
and the mundane
replied,
realms,
4 days
were all
ago,
created by a
Hungfeng
supreme
and Wan
powerhouse.
Qingqing,
Moreover,
had entered the
the
middle
realms of
realm of the
gods were
southern heaven
superior to the
ancient realm
Devata
together.
realms. From the
One
martial
could
battle
easily
mansion
imagine how
space,
powerful a
they had
supreme powerhouse
coincidentally
was.
passed by
It
the
all
fire
started
glaze
100
mansion
years
space
ago.
during their journey.
Huang Jialong
For
said
this
as he
reason,
reminisced.
it was not
A hint
difficult
of
for him to
nostalgia
deduce
flashed
the
in
reason.
Huang Jialong's
Wan
eyes as he
Qingqing
said,
and Duan
At that
Lingtian had
time,
joined forces.
I was just an
It was
ordinary
not difficult
golden
for Duan
celestial.
Lingtian.
I was traveling
to find
around
out
the
the
supporting
location of the
nation
fire
with a
glaze
few
mansion
friends.
space from
Naturally,
Wan Qingqing.
we were protected
Yes,
by the
Wan
powerhouses sent
Qingqing
by our
knew it was
families.
pointless for her to deny
One day,
it.
I got
He didn't tell
separated
him
from
where the
all of
martial
them in a
battle
dark,
mansion
sunless
spaces,
swamp
right?
that blocked out the
Hungfeng
divine
asked
sense.
again. His
I
tone was
waited
sullen
alone in
in
the
this time.
swamp for a few
I
days
won't
in
tell
fear
him.
before they
Wan
found me.
Qingqing replied.
During those few
That's
days,
good.
the
Don't
space
tell
beside
anyone
me
that
started
you've
to
joined
distort
forces
and
with him for
vibrate.
the time being.
In fact,
at the
I
very
even
least,
managed to see the
don't
region
let
of
anyone know
spatial
you've joined
turbulence
forces
behind
with
the
him
distorted
before
space.
he arrived at the
There were
fire
2
glaze
people
mansion
fighting there.
space.
Their movements
Otherwise,
were so
I'm
powerful
worried
that
the
the
fire
spatial
glaze mansion will
turbulence could
target
not
you.
get close to them.
Hungfeng said,
I don't know how
I
long
know.
they fought.
I didn't
But
show
I
up.
watched them fight for
Wan
a day and a
Qingqing
night.
replied.
When I
That's
first saw
good.
them,
Don't worry.
one of them was
I won't
covered in
tell
wounds
anyone
while
about
the
this.
other was in a wretched
Hungfeng
state.
said.
After a
Thank you,
day and a
Senior
night,
Hungfeng.
the one who
Wan
was covered in
Qingqing
injuries
hastily
was
expressed her
defeated,
gratitude.
and he chose to escape.
She trusted Hungfeng's
That was the
character.
only one who did not
Otherwise,
give up.
she
They
would
were
not have
leisurely
agreed to
strolling
join
through the
forces with
spatial
him.
turbulence
In the
as a
profound
matter
nether
of
mansion
course.
space.
In the end,
Duan
the
Lingtian,
person who escaped
Duan
seemed to
Lingtian
have sudden
seen me.
appearance in the
He stretched
profound
out his
nether
hand
mansions
and took out the
basis
stone
attracted
from
the
his
attention
body.
of the
He threw
profound
it at
nether
me and
mansion's
slapped it with his
disciples.
palm.
The
At the
profound
same
nether
time his
mansion's
stone landed
disciples
beside
looked at
me.
Duan
The
Lingtian
turbulent space
excitedly.
was also slapped
After
by
all,
his palm
Duan
and calmed
Lingtian
down
was the
Do
profound
you
nether
know?
mansion's
At
treasure.
that
time, he was the
thought I
reason
was
the
dreaming.
profound nether mansion
Everyone knows the
was
spatial
able to hold their
turbulence in
heads
the
up high
Devata
in
realms
front of the
is
other
extremely
celestial
terrifying.
mansions. Even
However,
heavenly
before
emperors
they
would
could
die if
regain
they
their
entered
senses.
it. However,
Duan Tingtian
those two
teleported
people are
again
walking through it
and
as if
appeared
it's
on a
flat
stone
ground.
platform in the
They're
campsite.
treating it as a battlefield.
In just a blink of
when
an
the
eye,
spatial turbulence
Duan
in the
Tingtian
chaotic space
left
hits
the middle
them.
realm of the
It's like a
southern
gust
heaven
of wind.
ancient realm.
They're
Through a
completely
transporting
unharmed.
formation.
Huang Jialong's face was filled with
Why did he
shock and
leave?
disbelief as
Based
he
on
spoke.
his anxious
At that
expression,
time, it's
I knew
obvious he has something
the thing
urgent
that the
to
man
attend
threw
to.
at me while he was
As the
escaping was
disciples in
not
the
simple at
profound
all.
nether mansion's base discussed among themselves. Duan Tingtian appeared
After that,
at one of the transporting
I put this thing in my
formations
spatial ring.
that led to the
From
middle
then
realm
on,
of the southern
whenever I
heaven
fell
ancient
into a
realm.
dream,
As
that
soon as he
person's
appeared,
figure would
he
appear in my
attracted a lot
dreams,
of attention,
and he would perform
it's
all
Duan
kinds of
Tingtian.
tricks.
In the beginning, I didn't know what kind of technique he was using. Old Chi. However, after reading through the books and understanding the law of space, he immediately sent a message to Chi Tianming, unfortunately, the inspector of the profound nether mansion. I still haven't figured it out. He told Chi Tianming about the message he received from Huang Divine Fruit, and his relationship with Huang Celestial Duke, the sect leader of the coupling celestial sect, helped you comprehend many profundities from the celestial sect to kill you. Therefore, that's impossible. I thought it would be better for you to keep this instead of me. When he received It'll only collect dust message. Wait a moment. As Huang Jialong spoke, I'll ask Bihai Ming extended his hand and placed the stone in front of message to Bihai Mingfeng. Duan Lingtian did not take the stone. The sect leader of the coupling celestial sect was wanted to lure Duan Lingtian to kill him. He's walking through the spatial turbulence as though it's flat ground. Anxiously sent a message to turbulence in the Devata realms. The first sect leader of the coupling celestial turbulence in the mundane realms has come out of the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. If they entered the spatial turbulence, Wen Qing knew things had gotten out of hand. When he learned that Duan survival if they were to had left the middle realm, the profound divine ancient realm, and the other said receiving the divinity of a supreme powerhouse. Therefore, is it possible that the two men are supreme powerhouses? That he had tested Duan Lingtian's eyes widened. Huang Jialong is now my direct disciple. When he thought about this, I only told Duan Lingtian, hurry up and take it to return to the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm with your future path will be smooth sailing. It's just a joke. There's almost no treasure in this world that's comparable to brother. The voices of the profound divine metal to add on, and the chaos divine earth rang in Duan Lingtian's side in relief. When he learned about they were afraid Huang Jialong then he sent a message to give the divinity to Duan Lingtian. In the end, it's just a farce. What's this thing? That brat Duan Lingtian asked the profound really divine has metal better to do. And the chaos divine after Chi Tianming learned about powerhouse divinity, he quickly sent a message to Duan Lingtian to comfort him. The supreme powerhouse divinity is something a supreme powerhouse leader of the coupling celestial after he condensed his comprehension of the law as direct disciple after testing him. The supreme powerhouse after is willing to leave behind the divinity. No one can force him to do so. Sigh of relief. The chaos divine fire finally relaxed. The chaos divine flame's voice rang in the air. He heard the voices around him that he said that after he obtained the supreme powerhouse godhead. Do you have the confidence to secure a spot in the top 5 in his sleep? Duan Lingtian. That means the supreme powerhouse. There are still a lot of people who haven't shown their strength yet. Godhead. Do you think he can make it into the top 10 this month? In just 2 days, a supreme powerhouse. Duan Lingtian had accumulated comprehension of the laws of space and was ranked 5th. In the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient who have reached the pinnacle through the laws of space, the elders and disciples of the profound nether mansion, if he can obtain this, who were present on the scene, no one will be able to match very well what was comprehending the law of space in the future. That was because Duan Lingtian was lucky enough to find the fire glaze comprehend the law of fire and the fire glaze manners people kept giving him points. It won't be as fast as current strength had been more or less figured out this thing. Although Tan Yuan from the fire glaze manor had been eliminated by the chaos divine fire side, that was because he had been careless. This boy has obtained the supreme powerhouse divinity for 100 years. He would have been able to escape, but he hasn't even comprehended the fundamental profundity of the elders and disciples. This means he's not destined to comprehend the law of space in his life. Would not be able to make it into the top 10 when it comes to the law of space. Even Tan Yuan would not be able to make it into the top 10 high attainments in certain laws. If Tan Yuan had not comprehended them with ease, Duan Lingtian would not have been able to eliminate them. They would never be able to comprehend. Top 10. Huang Jialong was clearly such a person. Nonchalantly, it was impossible for him to comprehend the law of disciples of the profound nether mansion. This was because the divinity left behind by a supreme powerhouse stone platform in the depths of the main hall to the pinnacle. Duan Lingtian, as long as it was not impossible for someone to comprehend the law of space to the middle realm within 100 years, southern heaven ancient they would be able to comprehend the transporting formation. As soon as Duan Lingtian inhaled sharply when he heard the chaos divine fire's words. My goal is to rank first in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient Jialong's hand again. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the people in the main hall divinity contained the law of space. They looked at each other for a long time before they regained their pinnacle. If he could obtain it, Duan Lingtian's ambition is so great. Law of space. Is it possible that he's been concealing his strength all this time? That's unlikely. Do you know how precious the thing in your hand is? He's not even 100 years old yet. Solemnly as he looked at Huang Jialong, if the strength he's shown so far isn't his true strength, it doesn't matter if it's precious or not. Human? It has been in my possession for 100 years. He's very confident, but it hasn't shown its full potential. I'm beginning to look forward to his performance. Since you've comprehended the law of space, unless he repeats his trip to the fire glaze mansion's base once or twice, you don't have to be so polite with it. It'll be very difficult for him to rank first. Although the supreme powerhouse were filled with confidence,
Duan
many people still believed
to
him.
take it.
However,
Instead,
there
he
were
told
very
Huang
few people
Jialong
who
about
believed
the
in
origin
him.
of the
There were
rhombus-shaped
also some
black
who
stone.
thought Duan Ling
He did not
was
hide
confident.
anything from
Duan
Ling
Ling
Tian.
the
Only
chaos
needed to
divine
find a
earth
few
was
more
rendered
camps
speechless
by
by Duan
Duan
Lingtian's
Lingtian's
actions.
Perhaps he would
Idiot.
be able to rank first.
Why are you telling him this?
However, if you
Many
tell him
people
this,
felt it was
he won't give you
impossible
the
for
supreme
Duan
powerhouse
Lingtian
divinity
to repeat
anymore.
his trip to the
chaos
Fire Glaze
divine
Mansion
earth said in
space.
exasperation.
The reason Duan
Duan
was able
Lingtian
to
ignored
obtain
it.
so many
It
points
had its own
outside
rules.
the Fire Glaze
Huang
Mansion
Jialong
space
treated it as a
was
brother.
because the Fire
How
Glaze
could it lie
Mansion
to
was
Huang
unaware of
Jialong?
his strength.
Impossible.
After this incident,
Supreme powerhouses.
not only did the Fire
As it
Glaze
turns
Mansion
out,
learn
the
about
two
Duan
powerhouses
Lingtian's
fighting
strength,
in the turbulent
but the
space
other
are
celestial
strongest
mansions also
existences
learned
in
about
this world.
Duan Lingtian's
They're
strength.
even stronger
Even
than the
if
heavenly
Duan
emperors.
Lingtian successfully
Jialong
intercepted
said with
their
a sigh,
bases in the middle
Brother
realm of
Duan,
the southern
keep it.
heaven ancient
I
realm.
believe with this
They would
supreme
not
powerhouse
recklessly
divinity,
send their disciples
you'll be
to
able
kill
to go
Duan
far in the
Lingtian.
future.
Therefore,
I only hope
it
that
was
when you
impossible
become a
for
supreme
Duan
powerhouse
Lingtian
in
to
the
repeat
future,
his trip to the
you'll
Fire
come back
Glaze
and have a
Mansion
drink
space.
with me. In the
Although
middle
Huang
realm of the
Jialong
southern
knew how
heaven
precious
ancient
the
realm,
supreme powerhouse
before
divinity
returning
was,
to the middle realm
he
of the
still wanted
southern
to
heaven
give it to
ancient
Duan
realm,
Lingtian.
Duan Lingtian
This is the supreme
had
powerhouse
informed
divinity
Qing of his
keep it.
intention
Who
to
knows?
enter the middle
You
realm
might
of
be
the
able to
southern heaven
comprehend
ancient
the law of
realm
space
through a
and reach the
communication
heavens
celestial
in a single
talisman.
bound.
When he
Duan
arrived at the
Lingtian
Fire
said,
Glaze
he did
Mansion
not
space,
reach out to take
Wan
the divinity.
Qing was already
Instead,
waiting for him.
he kindly reminded
You're done?
Huang Jialong,
Wan
just take
Qing
it.
thought she would
I
have
know
to
my
wait for
limits.
Duan Lingtian
Huang
for at
Jialong
least
shook
half a
his head
day.
and said with
She
a
did
smile,
not expect Duan
Moreover,
Lingtian
it's
would
all
send her a
thanks to you
message
that I'm
not
able
long
to
after
reach
she
the
left.
heavens in a single bound.
Yes, it's just
and
a
become the last
misunderstanding.
disciple of the
Duan
coupling
Lingtian
celestial
nodded.
sect.
He didn't
The
expect
further you
that
go,
such a blunder
the higher
would
my
appear.
position in
He
the
was not
coupling
surprised
celestial
by
sect
Huang
will be.
Jialong's performance
Consider
in
the
front of
supreme
the sect
powerhouse
leader
divinity
of the
my
coupling
investment in
celestial
you.
sect.
Huang
After all,
Jialong said in a
he knew
carefree
Huang
manner,
Jialong was a good friend who could go through thick and thin with him. Nevertheless, he still felt warmth in his heart.
Chapter
when he heard about
3172.
Huang Jialong's
Duan
performance.
Lingtian caught
Although
the stone
he and
in his
Huang
hand,
Jialong used
it
to
felt
have
as
a good
light as a
relationship.
feather.
It had
Senior
been a
Chaos
few
Divine
years
Flame,
since they last
can I
contacted
transfer
each
the
other.
world cleansing
Naturally,
divine water from
he
my
did not
body to
contact Huang
Jialong's?
Jialong
Because
Duan
he did not
Lingtian
want
asked
to
the
disturb
chaos
Huang
divine
Jialong's
flame in his body.
cultivation.
Since
He was
Huang
certain
Jialong
Huang
had given
Jialong
him
was
the
the
supreme
same.
powerhouse divinity,
After
he
not
wanted to
seeing each
repay
other for
Huang
a few
Jialong.
years,
His
he was sure
status
that he
as
would
the
not
last
change.
disciple of the
Huang
coupling
Jialong
celestial
also
sect
did not change,
was nothing
which
compared
made
to
him
the
very
supreme
relieved.
powerhouse divinity.
Apart from that,
you can.
He knew the sect
However,
leader of the
the
coupling
world
celestial
cleansing
sect
divine water
had
might
only
not
accepted
accept
him
Huang
as its
Jialong
host after it
as his
awakens.
last disciple
At
on a
that
whim.
time,
As
it
for
might
the
reason,
reason, he was
the
certain it
chaos
had
divine
something
flame
to do with
replied.
him.
In that
Otherwise,
case,
I'll
I'll
keep
keep
him
the
by
sect
my
leader
side.
of the coupling
With me
celestial
and your help,
sect
suddenly
the world
accept
cleansing
Huang
divine
Jialong
water
as his last
will
disciple.
believe that Jialong
When he
will
was
be able
ranked
to
bring
fifth
it in the
greater
middle realm
heights,
of the
right?
southern heaven ancient
Duan
realm.
Lingtian said
Moreover,
bluntly as his eyes
the
glinted.
sect leader of the
It's
coupling
useless.
celestial sect,
The chaos
had
divine
even
flame
used him
side
to test
were in
Huang
your
Jialong
body.
based on
If
all
the
these
other
factors.
world cleansing
It
divine
was
water
clear the
attacks
sect
the
leader
world
of the
cleansing
coupling
divine
celestial
water
sect
in your friend's
had
body.
something to do with him.
We won't be able to
After
do
I
anything.
leave the middle realm
After
of the
all,
southern heaven
if our
ancient
energy
realm,
enters your
I'll
friend's
ask old
body,
Qi to bring
it'll
me
harm
to the
him as
coupling
well.
celestial
If
sect.
you give him the world
It's been a
cleansing
long time
divine
since
water,
I last saw
he'll have
Jialong
to
this
rely
time.
on himself
I'll give
to
Jialong
keep
a
the
boost.
world cleansing
With
divine
this,
water
his
after it
path in the
awakens.
coupling celestial
The chaos
sect will be
divine
much
flame
smoother.
said.
I see.
Duan Lingtian
Duan
thought to
Lingtian
himself.
frowned slightly.
Duan Lingtian.
In the end,
I
he
only
decided
found
to
out
give
you
the world
eliminated
cleansing divine
Yuan
water to
and
Huang
Mo
Jialong.
Pingji from the Fire
After
Glaze
learning what
Mansion,
the world
after
cleansing
I left the
divine
middle
water
realm,
was, Huang
Wan
Jialong
Qingqing
naturally
sighed emotionally.
did not want to
Perhaps
accept Duan
Wan
Lingtian's
Qingqing
gift.
was unaware that the
Jialong,
way she acted
if
in
you're
front
unwilling,
of Duan Lingtian
I'll return the supreme
was different
powerhouse
from how
divinity
she acted
to you.
in front of
To
others.
me, the
in
supreme
front of
powerhouse
others,
divinity
she always
is far more
maintained a
valuable
cold and
than a
aloof
second
attitude,
form world
and her
cleansing
eyes
divine
even
water.
revealed a coldness
Duan
that kept
Lingtian
people
said
thousands
in a deep
of
voice.
miles away.
His tone
However,
was firm.
in front of
In the
Duan
end,
Lingtian,
Huang She was no longer as
choice
cold
but
as
to accept
before.
the gift.
Of course.
However,
Even
after
Wan
I
Qing
transfer it
herself
to your
did not
body,
notice
it'll
this.
remain dormant.
Duan
When it
Lingtian,
awakens
on the
in
other
the future,
hand,
you'll
found
have
Wan
to rely
Qing
on
much more
yourself to keep
pleasing
it.
to the eye.
Duan
She was
Lingtian
no
reminded
longer as
Huang
cold as
Jialong
before
understood.
and no longer as
Huang
unapproachable
Jialong
as
nodded
before.
solemnly.
Mo
For the
Pingji
next
is
2
still
days,
all right.
Duan
I only
Lingtian
eliminated
stayed at Huang
Tan Yuan
Jialong's
by luck.
place.
Duan
Duan
Lingtian
Lingtian
had
had
another
another
room
room
besides his own.
Tan Yuan
During
was
these
careless.
2 days,
Otherwise,
Huang Jialong
he would have
asked
been
Duan
able to escape
Lingtian
under my
about
watch.
the heaven sacrificial
Although
divine
Duan
fruit.
Lingtian had
After
eliminated
learning
Tan
about how
Yuan,
Duan
he knew it
Lingtian
was only a fluke.
had obtained the heaven
If Tan Yuan
sacrificial
had not
divine
been
fruit,
careless,
he
he would not have been able
break
to
out
catch
in
up
cold
to him
sweat
at all.
for Duan Lingtian.
This was the main reason.
It's true
he was
that
willing
fortune
to work
comes
with
from
Wang
danger.
Qing.
Although
Although
knew
he was
that
not
the reincarnated
slow, his speed
celestial
was not
emperor
low.
was not a simple
However,
person. If he
I
wanted to
didn't
rank
expect
first
him
in
to
the
set
middle
up such
realm
a
of the
huge
southern
trap.
heaven ancient
If
realm,
you and Ling
he would
Juyan
have to
didn't have
rely
a
on
trump
his
card,
speed. I'm
Let's
afraid
go.
you wouldn't be
You'll
able
have
to
to
deal
escape
with the
the
people
fate
we
of
encounter
becoming the
next.
sacrificial
Duan
offerings
Ling
of the
Tian
heaven
said to Wan
sacrificial
Qingqing.
divine fruit tree.
Even without Wan
After learning
Qingqing's
about what
reminder,
had happened
he
to
would
Duan
still
Ling
have to
Tian,
face Tan Yuan,
even though Duan
Mo
Ling Tian
Pingji,
was fine in
and
the
the
end.
others outside the
Huang
Fire
Jialong
Glaze Mansion
still broke
space.
out in cold sweat
However,
for him.
if the
Something
Fire
Glaze
Glaze Mansion's
was
disciples swarmed
over
him,
the past 2
and
days,
he fought outside the
Duan
Fire
Ling
Glaze
Tian
Mansion space,
had only slept for
Tan
half a
Yuan
night
could easily
before
hide
he
in the Fire
successfully
Glaze Mansion
comprehended the
space.
teleportation
As for the
profundity
others,
of the laws
including
of
Mo
space.
Pingji,
Naturally,
Duan
this
Ling
was all
Tian was
thanks to the
confident
supreme
he could stop
powerhouse
them
divinity.
outside the Fire Glaze
You
Mansion
already
space
have a certain level
and
of
prevent them from
comprehension
entering.
of the law
For
of
this
space's
reason,
transportation
Duan Ling Tian
profundity,
owed Wan Qingqing
with the
a
help
favor
of the
for
supreme
obtaining Tan
powerhouse
Yuan's
divinity.
points.
It's
You don't
not
owe me a
surprising
favor.
that you managed
If I
to
didn't
comprehend
inform
it
you,
in a dream.
you might have been
These
able
were the
to
chaos
eliminate
divine
more
flame's
people.
words.
Upon
It was
hearing
not
Duan Ling
surprised that
Tian's
Duan
words,
Ling Tian
Wan
managed to
Qingqing
comprehend the
naturally
law of
knew
space's
Duan Ling Tian
transportation
was going
profundity
easy
in
on
a
her.
dream.
Previously,
The supreme powerhouse
she was
divinity
worried
in
Duan Ling
Tian's
Tian's would not be a
possession
match for
was
Tan
condensed
Yuan
from a
and
supreme
Mo
powerhouse's
Pingji if they
lifetime
joined
of
forces.
comprehension of the
However,
law of space.
now she knew Duan
Moreover,
Ling Tian was
only
not a
a
match
supreme
for Duan Ling
powerhouse who had
Tian.
comprehended
Even
the
if
law of
Tan
space
Yuan and
would
Mo
be able
Pingji
to
join
condense a
forces,
supreme powerhouse
they would not be a
divinity
match for
that
Duan Ling
contained the
Tian.
law of space.
As for the other disciples from the Fire Glaze Mansion,
With this,
they were nothing
Duan
but
Ling
cannon
Tian
fodder in
would
front
be
of
able to
Duan Ling
comprehend the
Tian.
law of space
Even
to
so,
the fullest
if that's
with the help
case,
of the supreme
I won't be
powerhouse
able to
divinity.
eliminate Tan Yuan.
After all,
Duan Ling
Tian
Tian
shook
would
his
no
head
longer
and said
encounter
firmly,
any obstacles
"It's
on his
decided.
path to
If you're
comprehending
unwilling,
the law of space.
there's no need for us
At this
to work
point,
together."
Duan Ling
Thank
Tian
you.
had comprehended 7
Faced with
profundities
Duan
from the
Ling
law of
Tian's
space.
determination,
Moreover,
Wan
with the help
no
of the
longer
supreme
dared to
powerhouse
reject him.
divinity,
However,
it was
her
only a
heart
matter
was
of
filled
time
with
before
gratitude.
Duan Ling Tian
She knew Duan Ling
comprehended
Tian
the remaining
did not
2
have to do
profundities.
this.
Jialong, do you want to go to the profound nether mansion
Chapter
with
3162.
me? When they were about to leave the
Lu Ji,
coupling celestial
a disciple
sect,
of the Han Qing
Duan Ling
mansion,
Tian asked Huang
had entered the
Jialong
middle realm
if
of the
Huang
southern
Jialong
heaven
was
ancient
willing,
realm last
he
month,
could bring Huang
and was
Jialong to the
eliminated by
profound
Duan
nether
Ling
mansion.
Tian.
I want to
However,
go,
Lu
but I
Ji
don't
was
want to
still
rely on you.
unconvinced that
I
Duan
want to
Ling
rely on
Tian
my own
had
strength.
defeated him
Huang
due to his
Jialong
carelessness.
said with a grin.
He felt
Upon
Duan
hearing
Ling
Huang
Tian had
Jialong's
taken
words,
advantage of him.
Duan Ling
In
Tian
fact,
no longer
his speed
tried
was
to
indeed
persuade Huang
faster than
Jialong.
Duan Ling Tian.
Then,
I'll
after
wait
all,
for you in the
he had
profound nether
comprehended
mansion.
2 profundities
On
from
the
the
second
law of
day
wind.
after returning
In terms
to the
of
profound
speed,
nether mansion,
he was in the second
Duan
tier
Ling
of 10
Tian was
directions
summoned by
celestial
Qi
dukes
Tianming
in the middle
What's
realm
wrong?
of the southern
Duan
heaven
Ling
ancient
Tian was
realm.
puzzled.
As for
Based
Duan
on
Ling
Qi
Tianming's
he was in
expression,
between the
it
second
was
and third
obvious
tier of
Qi Tianming
Tianming
wanted to talk to him
celestial
about
dukes
something.
in terms of speed.
Ximen Hao Xian
This
from the
month,
Red Leaves
when
Mansion
Lu Ji
is
learned
here
that Duan
with the
Ling
vice
Tian
mansion master
had entered
of the
the
Red
middle
Leaves
realm
Mansion.
of the southern
He
heaven ancient
specifically
realm.
asked to see you.
He had followed Duan
Qi
Ling
Tianming
Tian
asked
into the
Are
middle
you going
realm
to
of
meet
the
them?
southern heaven
If
ancient
not,
realm.
I'll reject
At
them
this
on your
moment,
behalf. The people
although
from the
the
other
profound
celestial
nether
mansions
mansion
who
had
were
to
paying
give face
attention
to
to
the vice
middle
mansion
realm
master
master
of the
southern
Red
heaven
Leaves
ancient
mansion
realm,
were
Duan
shocked
Ling
by
Tian
Duan
was
Ling
not an
Tian's
exception.
performance.
However,
if
Lu
Duan
Ji
Ling
knew
Tian
nothing
was
about what
unwilling
was
to meet
happening
them,
outside,
Qi
after
Tianming
all,
could still reject
he was
them.
a reclusive
I have
and
an
aloof
appointment
person
with them.
in the Han Qing
Where is
mansion.
he? I'll go
Even
meet
the
him.
high-ranking officials
Duan
of the
Ling
Han
Tian
Qing
did not
mansion were
expect
not
Ximen
fond of
Hao
him,
Xian to come
let
so
alone the
quickly.
disciples.
He was slightly
For
surprised.
this reason,
Nobody
after
told
asking
him that
Qi
Duan Ling
Tianming about
Tian,
Ximen Hao
a dark
Xian's
horse,
temporary residence,
had appeared in the
he
middle
made his
realm
way
of
to
the southern
Ximen Hao
heaven
Xian's
ancient realm.
residence.
As
Duan
time
Ling
passed,
Tian, we meet
the
again.
people from the other
Ximen
celestial
Hao
mansions
Xian
gradually
Duan Ling
shifted
Tian.
their attention
As
away
soon as
from
he
Duan
arrived
Ling
at the
Tian.
entrance, 3
At
days
the
later,
same time,
Duan
he handed a floating
Tian's
image
ranking
pearl to
had
Duan
also
Ling
dropped to
Tian
7th
and
on the
said,
scoreboard. This is the
However,
floating image
the
pearl
gap
I lost
between
to you.
Duan Ling Tian,
Although the floating
who was ranked
image pearl
7th
was
on the
not very
scoreboard,
useful to
and the
Duan
person
Ling
who was
Tian,
ranked 8th on
since
the
he already
scoreboard was
possessed
quite
the supreme
huge.
powerhouse
There was
divinity.
a gap of more than
He
100
still
points
accepted it.
between them.
Even so,
Currently,
he still accepted
Duan
it.
Ling Tian
As
had
the saying
accumulated
went,
322
no matter how small a
points.
mosquito is,
in
it
just
still
2
days.
days.
Duan Ling
Perhaps he
Tian's
would be
points
able
had
to
not
comprehend
the law of space at a faster speed. After looking at the floating image, it was not even a fraction of the previous chances of that happening were slim. The battle at the Fireglaze Mansion's campsite is indeed the pinnacle of Duan Lingtian's strength. After that, Ximen Haoxian and Duan Lingtian to obtain more points from now on. To Duan Lingtian's surprise, and now, the people who are ranked behind Duan Lingtian at all are gradually closing in on him. About it. In just half a day, they have closed the gap of more than 30 points. Duan Lingtian I wonder if learned a lot about the 10 major clans will be able to maintain and the 5 major in the top 10 in the Southern Heaven territory. Wan Qing from Ximen the Martial Battle Mansion. These were not things that could be learned from books and memory. But she's already in the top 30 now. Duan Lingtian. Her points increase in the past 2 days is much faster than Duan said as he looked around. It seems that Duan Lingtian's luck is not as good as surroundings. Let's not talk about luck.
Certain no one was spying
in terms
on
of
them.
Strength,
He sent a voice transmission to
Duan
Duan
will be able to defeat Wan Qingqing.
The Blood Skull Gang
Wan
has reactivated the mission
is one of the fastest in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm.
To the heaven sacrificial
Duan
divine
Lingtian's
performance in the past
by
2
the
days
reincarnated
had greatly
celestial
disappointed
emperor.
many people.
However,
from the
they've
other
received
great
news
six
about your
celestial
outstanding
mansions.
performance
On the other
in
hand,
the middle realm
Wan
of the southern
Qingqing's
heaven
performance
ancient
in the
realm.
past 2 days
Ximen Hao
had attracted a lot of attention
meaningfully
since her points
when he
had
reached
increased
the end of
the
his
fastest
sentence.
among those
At
who
this
were not
moment,
in the top 6.
Duan Lingtian
It
finally
seems like the
understood
6 of
that
them will
Ximen
continue to
Hao
occupy the
little
top
about
6
his
spots
background
this month.
No wonder
Currently,
he did not even
the
ask a
6
single
people who
question
occupied
earlier.
the top 6
How do you
spots
know
in
the
the
Blood
Blood
Skull
Skull
Gang
Gang
has
has
sent a
sent a
mission
mission
to
to
target
target
me?
me?
Were none
Duan
other than the
Lingtian's
6
brows
people
raised as
who had
strands of
occupied the top
terrifying
6
cold
spots
lights in the
were
past
faintly
few years.
suffused in the
Wang
depths of
Tai
his
from the
eyes
Martial
that looked
Battle
at
Mansion.
Ximen Hao.
Yi Qiufeng from the Shining
understand.
Moon Mansion.
I'm not related
Lu
to the Blood
Danqing
Skull
from the
Gang.
Grand Sheng
I
Mansion.
only know about this
Ximen
because I
Haoxian
overheard
from the
it from a
Red
friend
Leaves
of mine.
Zhuge
Ximen
Yanqi from the
Hao shook
Vast
his
Heaven
head
Mansion
and said when he saw the
Gongsun
coldness in
Wuji from
Duan
the Azure
Lingtian's
Green
eyes.
Mansion.
His father is an internal affairs
These 6
elder
people
in the
had
Blood Skull
occupied
Gang.
the top 6 spots
Ximen
in the middle
Hao had
realm
only learned
of the
about the
southern
mission
heaven
to
ancient
target
realm
Duan
for the
Lingtian
past
the day
few
before.
years.
When
None
his
of them
friend
had
found
been
out
pushed
he had
out of
been
the top
eliminated
6.
by Duan Lingtian,
The 6 of them are too
he had
strong.
come to console
It's
him,
almost impossible
saying that
to push
Duan
them out of the
Lingtian
top 6
would not live for long.
And here I thought
Unless
Duan
Lingtian
might be able to
decided to
occupy
stay
one of
in
the
the
top
profound
6
nether
spots.
mansion forever.
It seems like I was too
Duan
naive.
Lingtian.
Duan
If you leave the profound
admit
nether
he's
mansion
strong,
in the future,
but it's not
you must
realistic
bring
for him
Inspector
to
Qi
make
with
it into
you.
the top 6.
I heard Inspector Qi
That's
brought
right.
you here from the
In my
Simplicity
opinion,
Celestial
he'll be
sect.
lucky if he manages
Based on
to
how
stay in the
important
top
you
10.
are to the profound
Duan
nether
Lingtian's
mansion.
performance was
I'm
short-lived.
sure he'll take care
After
of you.
2 days,
Ximen Hao
gradually
faded out of the limelight.
Duan Lingtian.
Only those from the
If it's
profound nether
inconvenient for
mansion
him,
thought it
you
would
can
be
look
good
for the
if
mansion
Duan
master
Lingtian
of the profound
managed
nether
to stay
mansion.
in the top 10
With your current value,
even if he did not
he'll
make
definitely
it into
take
the top
care of
6.
you.
He won't
After
let anything
all,
happen
the
to you.
profound nether
If you're
mansion had
unhappy
been under
under
a lot of
pressure
pressure
for
for
the
the
past few
just
years,
send me a message.
In fact,
I'll ask
no
my
one
old
had managed
ancestor
to make
to
it
bring
into
you
the
to the
top
Red
20
Leaves mansion
in the middle realm
as long as you're
of
a
the
member
southern
of the
heaven
Red
ancient
Leaves
realm.
mansion.
Now that
The
Duan
Red Leaves
Lingtian
mansion
won't
had
let you
finally
die in the
appeared.
hands of the Blood
Even if
Skull
he did
Gang.
not manage to stay in
Ximen
the top
Haoxian's
10
words were
and
sincere
only managed to stay
and
in
came
the top
from the
20,
bottom of his heart.
they would still
Why
be
do
able
you have to
accept
remind
it.
me?
Duan
It seems like
Lingtian
Duan
looked at
Lingtian
Ximen
was just
Haoxian
joking
when he said his
You
goal
should
is
know
to
that
rank
if I'm
first.
killed by the Blood
One
Skull
of the
Gang,
profound nether
it'll be a
mansion's
good thing for
disciples
you and
side.
the other 5.
How can you believe
Even
his
so,
words?
I won't
Do you really
use such
think
a
the
method
6
to
of them are
eliminate you.
pushovers?
Even
Let
if I
alone
want
the
to
6
defeat
of
you,
them.
I'll
Even
defeat you
Duan
fair and
Lingtian
square in the middle
wouldn't be
realm
able to
of the
do
southern
anything
heaven
to Wan
ancient realm.
Qingqing from the
Ximen
Martial Battle
Haoxian
Mansion.
said sternly.
Another
Ximen
disciple from the
Haoxian's
profound nether
magnanimity left a
mansion
good
shook his
impression
head.
on
It was
Duan
obvious
Lingtian.
he did not take
Since
Duan
you've treated me
Lingtian's
so
words
well,
seriously
I
from
won't
the
team
beginning.
up with anyone to
I
fight
hope
you
he'll
the
be
next
able to
time I
stay in the
meet you
top
in the
10
middle realm of the
Qitian
southern heaven
heaven.
ancient realm.
The inspector
I'm
of the
afraid you
profound
won't
nether
be a match
mansion
for me if you
was
don't
not
team up with
surprised
anyone.
when he learned that
Ximen
Duan
Haoxian
Lingtian
said with a
had
smile.
been pushed out of the
Save
top
your
6.
words for a few years
However,
later.
he still
Just
hoped
because
Duan
I wasn't a
Lingtian
match for
would
you
be
in the
able to
past
stay in the
doesn't
top
mean
10.
I'm not a match
After
for
all,
you now.
this was his
After
greatest
comprehending
hope for
the law of
Duan
space's
Lingtian.
transportation
Even if
profundity,
Duan Lingtian managed to make it
Lingtian
into the top
knew
5,
his speed was among the
Qitian
best
Ming
in the middle
did
realm
not think
of the
Duan
southern heaven
Lingtian
ancient realm.
would be able to
For this
maintain his
reason,
ranking.
he was confident
After all,
he could defeat
the way
Ximen
Duan Lingtian
Haoxian
earned points
even
was
without
not something that could be
Qingqing's help.
replicated.
You're so
Without
confident?
that method,
I'll wait and
Duan
see.
Lingtian was
Ximen
bound to be
Haoxian
pushed
looked
out
at
of the
Duan
top
Lingtian
5
in surprise.
or even the top 6.
The 6 of them were like 6 mountains
However,
on the scoreboard.
based on his
in the
tone,
middle realm of
it was
the southern
obvious he
heaven
did not
ancient
think
realm.
Duan Lingtian
They were lofty and
would be strong
insurmountable
enough to fight him
in the middle
in a
realm of
one-on-one
the southern
battle
heaven
in such a
ancient
short
realm.
time.
In terms of
Qingqing,
offense,
a middle-aged
Ximen
man
Haoxian
dressed
knew
in
he
a
was
fiery
no
red
match for
robe
Duan
looked at the
Lingtian.
green figure
However,
in the distance
in terms
with
of
a faint
speed,
smile on
Duan
his face.
Lingtian was no
I
match
didn't
for
expect
Ximen
to see you
Haoxian.
again.
The
Ximen
green
Haoxian
figure
was
standing
70%
opposite the
confident
red-robed middle-aged
he could
man
defeat
was
Duan
none other
Lingtian
than Wan Qingqing
in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm Battle Mansion. First place in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm was no stranger to Wan 12 consecutive months. He was Yun Yan, the Imperial Tutor, core disciple of the Magic Cloud Mansion, who was ranked in the top 10. I should be able to pass the test within a year. 2 days ago, she had received a message from Duan Lingtian. Before entering the middle realm, she had glanced at the scoreboard and discovered Yun Yan was ranked 13th. There were only 2 weeks left before she had encountered Yun Yan in the middle realm. Although her speed was superior to Yun Yan would reset, she could not defeat him. Among the top
Yun
6
Yan
people
was
on the
stronger than
scoreboard,
her in other aspects,
only one of them was
he could
still
not
in
do
the middle
anything to
realm
her.
of the Southern
She
Heaven
could
Ancient
stall him
Realm
until he
while
was
the other
forcefully
5
sent
had
out
already
of the middle
exited.
realm of the
Among
Southern
the 5
Heaven
people,
Ancient Realm.
But it would be pointless,
Was the only one
for
who
this
had
reason
exited
she
the
chose
middle
to
realm
give up
of the Southern
Similarly,
Heaven Ancient Realm
Yun Yan
earlier
chose
than
to
the
give
others.
up as well.
Currently,
2 hours
there
ago,
are only a few
I
people in
received
the
a
top
message
30
saying that your
who are
speed of
still in
gaining
the middle
points
realm
is only
of the
second
Southern
to those
Heaven
6
Ancient
people.
Realm.
In
I
just
don't
2
think there'll
days,
be any
you've
changes
already
to the
entered
top
the top
30 by
30
the end of the month.
Yun Yan said as he
I'm
looked
not
at
sure
Wan
if the other
Qingqing.
rankings will
Wan
change,
Qingqing
but
smiled
I'm
faintly.
certain the first place on the
lucky.
scoreboard won't be
Wan
replaced.
Qingqing replied
With
indifferently.
more than 1,000
From
points,
beginning to end,
he's half a
her
point
eyes
ahead
were
of the
filled
second
with a
place.
coldness that
It's
pushed
impossible
people
to
thousands
replace
of miles
him.
away.
In
She
everyone's
seemed
opinion,
incomparably
Duan
cold.
Ling Tian,
Yun Yan did
the
not think
profound
much of it,
Nethermansion's
as he
disciple,
already knew
would
that Wan
definitely rank
Qingqing was
first
a
in the
cold
middle
beauty
realm
in
of
the
the
martial
Southern
battle
Heaven
mansion.
Ancient Realm.
Congratulations.
It was only natural that
Yun
an
Yan
unknown
congratulated
disciple
Wan
of the profound
Qingqing
Nether Mansion
before he prepared
would
to
take the
leave.
first place
In his
the middle
opinion,
realm
he
of
and
the
Wan
Southern Heaven
Qingqing
Ancient
couldn't do
Realm.
anything to each
Apart
other
from
in
the
their
great
battle
6
last
celestial
month.
mansions
There was
in the
no
Southern
need for
Heaven
them to
territory.
fight again this month.
Even the 10
He was
major
certain Wan
clans and 5
Qingqing
great
had the
sects
same
were
thoughts as
aware
well.
of Duan Ling
However,
Tian's existence.
just as he was about to
investigate Duan
Wan
Ling Tian
Qingqing suddenly
the outer
turned
court
into a streak
disciple
of
of the
green
profound
light
Nether
and
Mansion
appeared in his path.
He's not even
blocking
100
his
years
path.
old, but he's already a 10 directions celestial Duke.
Moreover,
Do you think you'll be able
it
to
seems
eliminate
like he has
me this
comprehended
month?
6
If your strength
profundities
has
from the law of
improved,
space,
I'll fight you again.
and is in the process
However,
of
if your
comprehending
strength
the
hasn't
7
improved,
profundity from the
there's
law
no
of
need
space,
for us to waste our
the
time
high-ranking
here.
officials
Yun
in the
Yan
10
said.
major clans
All
and
right.
5 great sects
Last month,
sent people to
his battle
investigate
with
Duan
Wan Qingqing
Qingqing's
had lasted
background.
for half a day.
Even the Su
In
clan,
his opinion, it was
one
a
of the
waste
10
of
major
time.
clans of the
For this
profound
reason,
Nether
he
Mansion,
did not plan to
sent
waste
people
his
to
time
look for the
with Wan
mansion master
Qingqing.
of the profound
My
Nether
strength
Mansion.
hasn't improved.
Soon after,
Wan Qingqing
news
said,
of Duan Ling
if your
Tian
strength hasn't
being
improved,
from the simplicity
let's not
celestial
waste
sect,
our time here.
and Duan Ling
Yun Yan
Tian
was slightly
consuming
annoyed.
the heaven
He had thought
sacrificial
Wan
divine
Qingqing
fruit
had
spread
stopped
to
him
the 10 major
because her
clans
strength
and
had
5
improved,
great sects,
and she was more
Realization
confident in
dawned on the
herself.
10 major clans
However,
and 5 great
when he
sects.
heard Wan Qingqing
If it was
said
due
her
to the
strength
heaven
had not
sacrificial
improved,
divine
he was
fruit
slightly
that
annoyed.
Duan Ling Tian
Swoosh
was
As
able
soon
to
as
become a
Yun
10
Yan finished
direction
speaking,
celestial duke,
a figure
and
appeared out of
comprehend
thin
so
air
many
next to Wan
profundities from the
Qingqing.
law of space.
The figure belonged
In
to
that
a handsome
case,
purple-clad
Duan
young
Ling
man.
Tian's talent
He
and
had dashing
comprehension
eyebrows and bright
were
eyes.
not as
He
heaven-defying
looked
as
like a
imagined.
match made in heaven.
Although there were
when he
not
stood
many
next
peak
to Wan
overarching
Qingqing.
heavenly supreme
Swoosh.
celestials
Yun
under the
Yan's
age
eyes
of 100
widened in shock
who had
when he saw the
comprehended
figure
2 or
standing
3
next to Wan
profundities from a law.
Qingqing. There
No
were
wonder
still
Wan
some in the
Qingqing
10
stopped
major
me.
clans and
She has a
5
helper.
major sects.
I know she has
Now,
a helper
Duan
this
Ling
month.
Tian was viewed
However,
as such an existence.
didn't Hung Feng get
and for a
eliminated
time,
by Duan Ling
the 10
Tian
great clans
from
and
the
5
profound
great
Nether
sects
Mansion?
did not pay much attention
Yun Yan
to
had
him.
heard about
The
Wan
Dao scholar
Qingqing
profound
joining
sect
forces
was
with
one of the
Hung
5
Feng
major
to
sects
enter the
in the
middle
Southern
realm
Heaven
of the Southern
territory.
Heaven
It
Ancient
was a
Realm.
5th grade sect.
However,
He
that
did
Duan
not
Ling
expect
Tian
Wan Qingqing
not only did he not
to
die
join
in
forces
Yanhuang
with
Hung
Hung
Feng,
He even
after Hung
snatched the
Feng was
heaven
eliminated,
sacrificial divine
Wan
fruit from the
Qingqing
hands
found
of the
another helper
reincarnated
to join
immortal
forces
emperor.
with.
In a
Yun Yan
spacious
shifted
courtyard
his
in the
gaze
Tao
to the
scholar
purple-clad
profound
young
sect's
man
encampment,
standing next to
a
Wan
young man
Qingqing.
raised his eyebrows
He saw the
slightly
identity
after receiving
token
the
hanging
message.
from the
This
purple-clad
young man was
man's
dressed
waist.
in a white robe.
An ominous
He had a
feeling
handsome
rose in Yun
appearance
Yan's heart
and held
when
a
he saw
folding
the
fan in
identity
his
token.
hand. He
Since
was
Wan
elegant
Qingqing
and had
was
an
willing to
outstanding
join forces
temperament.
with the
One
purple-clad
look,
young man,
and one could tell
was
that he was
certain
not
the
a simple
purple-clad
person.
young man would
He
not
was
be
none
an
other than
ordinary
one
person.
of the 3 true
When Yun
disciples
Yan
of the
saw
Dao
the
scholar
identity
profound
token
sect.
hanging from the
Yan
purple-clad
Ryu.
young man's waist,
Yan Ryu was
his
also
eyes
the
widened,
youngest true
and his
disciple
expression
in the
changed
history of the Dao
drastically.
scholar profound
Duan Ling
sect.
Tian.
Chunli.
Duan Ling Tian's
Yan Ryu
name had
sent a
spread
message
throughout
to
grade
Chunli,
6
the
celestial
son of
mansions
Chen
in
Yuan
the
Shan,
Southern Heaven
the vice
territory
leader
in
of
the
the
Blood
10
Skull
days.
Gang.
Have you heard about Duan
As a
Ling
core
Tian?
disciple of
You
the
know
Magic
about
Cloud
it.
Mansion,
Clearly,
Yun
Yan
Yan had long known naturally familiar with this name. Wan Qingqing, you actually joined forces with Duan Lingtian. Then he sent another message
looked
to
at Wan
Qingqing in shock.
Are you all right?
As he struggled to look away from Duan Lingtian's identity token.
It's been 2 days.
I'm fine. I finally have a chance to make taken responsibility for this matter. Duan Lingtian had learned from Wan Qingqing to target him through voice transmission.
Replied
that the purple-clad young man was ranked in the top 10 of the middle realm of the Celestial Heaven in the past, and Chun-Li was the guarantor. Initially, they thought it was a simple mission. However, Yin finally understood why Wan Qingqing had because of it. As it turned out, the high-ranking members of the Blood Skull Gang to join forces with her. Under such circumstances, Chun-Li was in charge, a core disciple of the Magic Cloud Mansion. Chun-Li was under a lot of pressure. I've heard a lot about you. However, no matter what, hands at Chun-Li's father was still the vice leader of the Blood Skull Gang. His strength was on par with Duan Lingtian to take responsibility for this matter. The realm battlefield was a place where 2 realms by Duan intersected.
It would appear once every 10,000 years,
was not to be
and it would
underestimated.
last for 1,000 years
In front of Duan
every
Ling
time it
Tian
appeared.
His only
This
option
time,
was to flee.
the realm battlefield
However,
would appear
that
when
was
the
only
realm
if
of
he
gods,
encountered Duan
the
Ling
divine
Tian
offering
alone.
land.
His speed
and
was
another
on par
realm
with
of gods,
Tanyuan,
the land of
Since Tanyuan
sanctions
said he could
It
escape
had been
under
several
Duan Ling
decades
Tian's
since the
nose
opening
if he
of
was
the
not
planar
careless.
battlefield.
He could do the same as well.
Boom.
However, his
Boom.
current situation
Boom.
was completely
Mountains
different
collapsed
from
one after
Tanyuan's
another.
situation.
Following
Duan
that,
Ling
two
Tian
figures
was not
flew out
alone.
of the dust-filled
Wan
sky.
Qingqing was with
One of
Duan
them
was
was
a
a
burly
Tian,
man,
although her
and the
overall
other was a
strength was
peerless beauty
inferior to
dressed
him.
in white.
Her speed
Blood
was
could
much
be
faster
seen
than
trickling
him.
down the corner
If she
of
wanted
the
to
peerless
flee,
beauty's mouth,
he would not be able
on
to
the other
catch up
hand,
to her.
the burly man was
Similarly,
unharmed.
if she wanted to
"You're
fight
not a
him,
match for me,"
he would not be
the
able to
burly
shake
man
her
grinned,
off.
and his smile was very
Qingqing's
proud.
speed,
And
at
her
this
comprehension
moment,
of the law
the
of
peerless
wood,
beauty seemed to
coupled
be in
with
a daze.
Duan Ling Tian's
A
help,
bitter smile could
I'm
be
sure
seen
they'll
on
be
her
able
face.
to defeat any one
No
of those
wonder I'm
6
going to
people
die
if they
here
join
today.
forces.
No,
Yin Yin
if I
thought to
die
himself,
here,
what about
all right.
Sister Fei?
Duan Ling
What
Tian
about
nodded
Yin Tian?
indifferently when he
What
heard
about
Yin
Si
Yan's
Ling?
greeting.
What about
At the same
father,
time,
mother, and uncle
he reminded
Feng?
Yin Yin
The
out of
peerless
goodwill.
beauty's eyes were
Prepare
filled with
yourself.
unwillingness.
The two of us
If I
will
had
make
the
our
strength
move
from my
soon.
past life,
Swoosh.
I wouldn't be
As
afraid
soon
of
as
this
Duan
person.
Ling Tian finished
Unfortunately,
speaking,
I'm
Wan
still a step
Qingqing's
away
body
from
glowed with the
regaining the
dazzling
strength I
green
had
light.
in my past
It
life.
was as though she was
This
surrounded
step is
by
like
a
a moat
dazzling
that I
green
haven't
flame.
been able to cross.
It set off Wan
Her heart was
Qingqing's
filled with
devilishly
despair.
enchanting
Wisps
figure,
of faint
and
blood
her
chi
near
appeared
perfect
on the
face,
peerless beauty's
causing
body.
everything
The
around her
rising
to
blood
pale in
chi gathered
comparison.
together.
If it was
and
any
turned
other
into a
time,
strange beast.
Yin Yin would have looked
You're a
at Wan
direct descendant
Qingqing
of
with
the Xia
admiration.
clan in the divine
But now
offering
he
land.
couldn't find the
The
slightest
burly
bit
man
of
frowned slightly
appreciation
when he saw the
You don't have
strange
to do
beast
anything.
formed from the blood
I admit
energy.
defeat.
Who's Xia
Yin
to
Yin
you?
said with a
You
bitter
know my
smile.
third uncle.
What a joke.
The peerless beauty
With
looked
Wan
at the burly
Qingqing
man
and
in
Duan Ling
surprise.
Tian joining
The
forces.
blood energy that
Their
rose
strength
from the
was
surface of
comparable
her
to
body
any one of the six
dissipated
people
in just
in
the
the middle
blink of
realm
an
of the
eye.
Southern Heaven
He's your
Ancient
third
realm.
uncle.
He knew
The
that he
burly
alone
man's
was
eyes
definitely
widened
not a
slightly
match for
before he
Duan Ling
sighed.
Tian and the other man. Therefore, he chose to admit
10,000
defeat.
years ago,
He didn't suspect
he went to the
that
land
the
of
Duan Ling
sanctions
Tian
and
in
saved
front
my
of him
life.
was a fake.
A hint of
Because the
nostalgia could be
identity
seen in
tokens
the
of the
burly
major
man's
immortal
eyes as he
mansions
sighed.
couldn't be
It
faked.
was as though he had returned
Moreover,
to the past.
if it was a fake
Since
identity
you're his
token,
niece, I won't kill
he would
you.
be able to
The
recognize
burly
it
man
at a
shook
glance.
his head before he
Duan
turned
Ling
around
Tian,
and left.
If you
The
have
peerless
time,
beauty
you
only
can come to
regained
the
her
Demon
senses
Cloud
when the
Mansion
burly
and have a
man's
drink
figure
with me.
disappeared from her
Yin
sight.
Yin said to
The bitter
Duan Ling
smile
Tian
on her
with a
face
smile
widened as she
he
muttered
took
to
out his
herself,
accumulative point
I
jade
didn't think I'd
and
be
crushed
so
it.
lucky today.
There were only
It's all
benefits
thanks
to
to
befriending
third uncle
such a
that I'm still
powerful
alive.
existence at such
The
a young
peerless
age.
beauty was none
There
other
was no
than
harm
Kerr.
in befriending him.
Naturally, as
Kerr
soon
was
as
also
Yin
the
Yan's
young miss of the
accumulative
Xia
point
clan
jade
in the
shattered.
divine offering
Duan
land.
Ling Tian's
Xianing's
voice
transmission rang in
with
Wan
my
Qingqing's
strength.
ears.
It seems like I
If you
shouldn't
don't
venture
collect
too
his
deep
points,
into the realm
there's
battlefield.
no need for us to work
If I
together
didn't run
anymore.
into third uncle's old
Wan
acquaintance,
Qingqing's body
I would have
stiffened
died.
when she heard
With this
Duan
thought
Ling
in mind,
Tian's voice
Kerr turned
transmission.
around and left.
This fellow,
She no longer
Wan
dared to take
Qingqing
any
muttered
risks.
to herself.
Death was like an
Initially,
extinguished
she had
lamp.
planned to leave
She
so
still had
Duan
many
Ling
things
Tian
to
could
do.
collect Yin
She
Yan's
could not die
points.
just yet.
However,
I
when
miss
she
Brother
heard
Duan
Duan Ling
so
Tian's
much.
determined tone,
Poor Sai was
she
filled
no
with
longer
longing.
dared to act
In the
rashly.
spirit overarching
After all,
heaven,
in
she
the
knew
profound
Duan Ling
nether
Tian
mansion
was a
in
man
the
of his
southern heaven
words.
territory.
Swoosh.
Kerr.
As soon as
Duan
Duan
Ling
Ling
Tian
Tian
sent
woke
Wan
up with the
Qingqing
start
a
from
voice
a
transmission.
nightmare.
Originally,
He teleported away.
there was
and
only a
gave all
figure
of
in
his
Yin Yan's
dream
points to
that
Wan
was
Qingqing,
demonstrating the laws
although
of
they had
space.
encountered many
However,
people
for
before
some
they met
reason,
Yin
he
Yan.
suddenly dreamt
Wan
of Kerr.
Qingqing was able
Moreover,
to handle all
he
of them
dreamt
on
that
her own.
something had happened
According
to Kerr.
to Duan Ling
When he
Tian,
woke up,
Wan
Duan Ling
Qingqing
Tian
was
was
so
so
frightened
frightened
that he
that he broke
broke
out
out
in cold sweat.
Those that Wan
In fact,
Qingqing could defeat
it was not
would be
entirely
Wan
a
Qingqing's
coincidence
turn.
that Duan Ling Tian had such a nightmare.
Wan Qingqing,
An
would
omnipotent
collect the
godhead,
points herself.
was the condensation
However,
of an
Wan
omnipotent's
Qingqing
lifetime
had given him a lot
comprehension
of
of the
points
laws
along the way.
It also
For this
contained the
reason,
omnipotence
Duan
power.
Ling Tian
An
allowed Wan
omnipotent
Qingqing
was the
to
most
collect
powerful
Yin
life form in the world. The next time every action of theirs involved the laws of heaven and earth. When Kerr encountered danger, to collect the points. Duan Lingtian if you give in to me again, receive some sort I don't think there's any need for us to work together anymore. Of course, Duan Lingtian was unaware of Yan's points. He only thought that it was a pure nightmare. To check the points. He didn't know that Kerr had indeed just experienced the life and death calamity. She looked at Duan Lingtian solemnly. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. Although his expression was natural, scoreboard in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm was similar finally released. Both of them were unwilling to take advantage of others, or forcibly for the sake of their principles. They were willing to give up their own interests. Although everyone in the profound nether mansion knew this would happen, I remember that before I came in last when the result was announced, Yunyan was already the mansion master of the profound nether mansion. At that time, even announced he had almost 200 points. would be allowed to become an inner court disciple of the profound Nether Mansion. He wondered how many points nobody in the profound Nether Mansion had any objections upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words. Nobody was dissatisfied even if they were secretly unhappy. Jade. After all, her eyes widened slightly when she saw the number of points to the profound Nether Mansion. 300 was only natural for him to be given this privilege. Saw the everyone in the profound Nether Mansion thought Jade. However, increased to 364 points. It did not matter if even surpassed Duan Lingtian's point the profound Nether Mansion or not. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly when he learned about heavily nurtured by the profound Nether Mansion. It seems like Yin Yan the imperial has also obtained a lot of points in the past 2 days. Now that he had the supreme powerhouse divinity, the cicada, he no longer needed to rely on the profound Nether Mansion for the law of space. If I give you these points, he still needed to rely on the profound Nether Mansion for his cultivation base. The top 3. Once one became a 10-direction celestial Duan with a complicated expression on her face as she said to cultivate and become a 10-direction celestial Duke. After all, although the chances of encountering someone with as many points as and the main branch from the middle realm of life in the southern heaven ancient realm, he still needed to cultivate step by step. After all, however, the middle realm would allow him to absorb as much heaven and earth spirit trying to find a specific person among them was no different from looking for a needle in the Devata realms. There were many celestial fruits and medicinal pills that could increase one's cultivation base. It was obvious that he didn't care about medicinal pills were extremely precious. Even the profound Nether Mansion did not have many of them. Heart skipped a beat. Usually, when she saw the smile on disciples of the profound Nether Mansion, at the same time, would be able to obtain her gaze when she looked at Duan Lingtian and medicinal was filled with gentleness. Through competitions, martial battle after mansion, becoming the imperial tutor of the profound Nether realm of the southern heaven ancient realm, obtain as many celestial pills. And however, following a change in the scoreboard, of course, a commotion broke out among the several tutor status in the profound Nether Mansion. Is as high as place on the rankings. Duan Lingtian trusted Qi Tian. Oh my God! A month later, the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm opened again. The elders and disciples of the martial battle mansion were shocked to see another person enter the top 10. After Wang Tai of the martial battle mansion. Moreover, it was not the 10th or 9th place, but the 7th brother Duan Lingtian. As soon as Duan Lingtian entered the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm, had been pushed down and arrived at the profound Nether Mansion's base. The 7th-ranked person was none other than one group of profound Nether Mansion's an inner court disciple of the martial battle mansion. From the profound Nether Mansion spoke in a respectful tone. Why is she ranked 7th all of a sudden? Duan Lingtian one of the martial battle nodded at the disciples profound Nether Mansion's disciples. Not sudden. Before he made his way out of the profound Nether from the Magic Cloud Mansion, it's a pity senior brother Duan Lingtian can't join forces from the scoreboard. It's obvious that senior sister Gong Sun has eliminated wouldn't be able to do anything to them his points if they joined forces. Senior sister one of the profound Nether Mansion's another martial battle mansion's disciple said as he was about to leave the profound Nether Mansion's of the Magic Cloud Mansion. Over the past few years, Yin is the strongest person below Celestial the profound Nether Mansion's base 3 times. During those 3 times, strength is higher than one dared to leave the base. I think they met another profound Nether Mansion's disciple side. Yin was stronger while Wan Celestial Mansion's base in the middle realm could defeat the other. Heaven ancient realm. It has only been a month. Was tantamount to offending the great Six Celestial Mansion to defeat him. Not many people would do such a thing. However, gained an advantage it was normal for 2 great Six Celestial Mansions who were at our martial battle mansion has occupied 2 of the top 10 spots. 2 great Six Celestial Mansions were like fire and water. There was no need to worry about offending each other. High position. Gong Sun Wu Ji, it seems like she has a chance to become a core disciple of the martial battle mansion after this month. People in the middle different celestial mansions had different criteria for every time the profound Nether Mansion's disciples learned about the location of the profound Nether Mansion. She would come to the profound Nether martial battle mansion. Nobody in the profound Nether Mansion who was stronger than a match for Gong Sun Wu Ji was only an inner court disciple. The profound Nether Mansion did not have in the martial battle mansion, there was the profound Nether Mansion's in front of Wang Tai. Could only hole up in the profound Nether Mansion's to him in every other aspect except for her speed. Do you know where the Azure disciple of the martial battle mansion? Duan Lingtian turned to look at the 2 profound Nether Mansion's disciples to become a core disciple of the martial battle mansion. She would have to be compared to Wang Tai. A friend of mine for this reason, by the Azure Green Manors was the only core disciple in the martial battle mansion. Fortunately, not a celestial he managed to escape by crushing his Jade token. The other core disciples in the martial battle mansion were all celestial kings, so it won't be difficult for him to find it. Based on Wan Qing's profound nether mansion, the middle realm of the southern heaven quickly replied. When he heard Duan Lingtian's she had a chance to become the second core disciple in the martial battle mansion. It's a pity no one in the profound nether mansion is as fast as Wan Qing in the magic cloud
Otherwise,
mansion.
we could have assisted
the transporting formations that led to the middle realm of the southern
heaven
azure green mansion space
were as silent as a
whereas
graveyard.
the azure green mansion's camp was eliminated from the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. Eyes flashed as a bright light in charge of the transporting formations. Senior brother did not even look at the scoreboard. We know you're not weak. Because of
However,
they all thought that Yun Yan was eliminated by one of the 6 people. One of the profound nether mansion's when they looked at the scoreboard, they discovered it was not the case. Wuxia isn't any weaker was eliminated by one from the Red Leaves mansion, an inner court disciple of the martial battle mansion. The Azure Green Mansion is different from the Fire Glaze Mansion. From the martial battle mansion, the strongest person in the Fire Glaze Mansion is Tan Yuan. He's not even on the same level as Gongsun Wuji. How is it possible for her to eliminate profound nether mansions when the elders and disciples of the Magic Cloud Mansion isn't any weaker than she eliminated by Wan Qing? Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. They could not help but wonder if Wan Qing was right. Just tell me the location of the Azure Green Mansion's base. Was Wan Qing strong enough to eliminate Yun Yan? Since Duan Lingtian insisted on natural location of the Azure Green enough to eliminate me. The profound nether mansion's disciple did not hide it from him. Chapter 3164. Upon hearing Yin Yan's words, Duan Lingtian, the members of the profound nether mansion were shocked. To the Azure Green Mansion joined forces with Duan Lingtian. After thanking the disciple from the profound nether mansion, left the profound nether mansion's base. Are you referring to Duan Lingtian from the profound nether mansion's disciple? Yin Yan smiled wryly. Do you think senior brother Duan Lingtian from the profound nether Azure Green Mansion's base? There's no one else like Duan Lingtian. One of the profound nether mansion's middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm difficulty who's capable of defeating me by joining. Although senior brother Duan Lingtian is strong, the eyes of the members of the Demon Cloud Mansion widened when they heard Yin Yan's words. It's not realistic for him to go to the Azure Green Mansion's base unless he finds someone to help forces with Duan Lingtian. Another profound nether mansion's disciple chimed in. Rumor has it that the profound nether mansion is capable of breaching Hung Feng's defenses despite his slow passed in just a blink of an eye. In the past, although Duan Ling's defenses could only be considered the second tier in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. It was obvious that now that he has comprehended the law of Earth's defense profundity, no one knew he had gone to the Azure Green Mansion's first tier in the middle realm of the southern heaven nether mansion's disciples. Even were certain Duan Lingtian still had gone to the Azure Green Mansion's base. Wan Qing to find someone to help him. The Azure Green Mansion's Gongsun Wuji has also entered the middle realm. At the same time, if they join forces, the people from the other celestial mansions saw Gongsun Wuji's name on the elders and disciples of the Demon Cloud Mansion. Their name was rising faster. They turned to look at the top 6 people on the scoreboard. Gongsun Wuji had surpassed Duan Lingtian. Those 6 people had occupied the top 6 spots on the scoreboard without exception. Previously, Duan Lingtian some people had tried to join forces with others to pull them down from the top 6. He nodded at the profound nether mansion's disciples. Now that Duan eliminated the disciples from the other celestial mansions. During this time, he encountered 2 disciples from the Azure Green Mansion. One of them was eliminated by Duan Lingtian. After all, the other disciples' eyes were not only powerful but mysterious as well. However, I'm curious. For this reason, Duan Lingtian from the martial battle mansion, while Duan knew this was the case, is from the profound nether Gongsun Wuji. Why are they together? Gongsun Wuji would not let him go so easily. I'm just teaming up. Didn't you say that Wan Qing teamed up with Wan Qing and encountered the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm? Was eliminated by Duan Lingtian and Wan Qing successfully escaped? If I run into him again, they had joined forces, I might be able to join forces with him. I don't think so. However, the middle realm went to southern heaven ancient from the Fire Glaze Manor. It won't be easy to run into him. Wan Qing was there as well. Wan Qing thought to herself, they must have met again later on and started to work together. Therefore, I think so too. She did not expect to encounter Duan Lingtian and Wan Qing in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient Cloud Mansion. Duan Lingtian from the profound nether mansion is people in the top 6 of the rankings. I didn't even have time to react a message before he from the higher-ups of their respective immortal mansions. If he didn't show mercy, I would have died. In the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm, about Duan Lingtian from the profound nether mansion. A lone figure stood there, I'm truly impressed this mountain. Duan Lingtian and Wan Qing teamed up. Didn't they say Duan Lingtian's the proud and aloof figure was a tall young man with a handsome appearance? My speed is enough to enter the second echelon. But why isn't he faster? Fire was burning fiercely. It wasn't easy for me to fight my way into the corners of the young man's lips curled up slightly as his eyes glinted. Boom! My many days of hard work were all for naught, causing water to splash everywhere. Duan Lingtian gradually eliminated people from the various grade 6 immortal mansions. The figure was a young man dressed like a scholar. These people were genuinely shocked by Duan Lingtian's and looked like a scholar. Some people even felt that. Even if Duan Lingtian I hope I'll be surprised when I meet them. The young man smiled before he turned into a streak of light and flew into the distance. On the 6th day, Duan Lingtian entered the southern heaven ancient realm. At this moment, with this, a figure who looked like a deity appeared above in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. King Tai was so frightened that his face turned pale as he hurriedly admitted defeat. At this time, as something unexpected happened, he crushed his accumulative point to the profound nether mansion's base. From the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. Congratulations on making it in flames raised an eyebrow. Senior brother surprise could be heard in his voice. Junior profound nether mansion's base has teamed up with Duan Profound nether mansion's disciples congratulated Duan based on the words of the person who crushed his accumulative point jade. Enter the transporting formation was none other than to the profound nether mansion's martial battle mansion. It seems like the senior brother Duan Lingtian, a figure was seated cross-legged forces with anyone to enter the depression on the walls of the gorge. How amazing! He seemed to be waiting for something. Compared to Xi was dressed in a long gray robe. He had the youthful appearance of a young man, still lacking in experience, but his hair and eyebrows were white. He wouldn't had white hair and a ruddy complexion. Since he entered the middle realm of the southern heaven rang in the air so as the gray-clad young man opened his eyes. Time to accumulate a copper coin had appeared in his hand. Senior brother Duan Lingtian has done well. A moment later, the copper coin fell. The profound nether mansion's disciples in the profound nether mansion's base began to whisper among themselves. The gray-clad young man said with a sigh. The gray-robed young man sighed. Then he closed his eyes and rested. At one of the transporting formations in the profound nether mansion for a long time. That led to the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. The profound nether mansion's disciple who killed Gongsun Jing attracted everyone's attention. However, from the martial battle mansion, did not pay any attention to the excited crowd. In the biting cold wind, instead, he looked at the scoreboard. A figure flitted through the air and suddenly is ranked in midair. The reason why he ranked second? Because he had just received a message when he saw Gongsun Wuji's name on the scoreboard. Even if you've teamed up with Wan Qingqing, it's time. You'll still die if I meet you. He might not be able to make it back to the azure green mansion as he narrowed his eyes. Under the shocked profound nether mansion seized Duan Lingtian as their only hope. Duan Lingtian I will crush their middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. As soon as he finished speaking, he moved in again. The profound nether mansion's base killing in the middle realm appeared in the eyes of the black-robed youth. As if he was about to devour someone. Disciples It'll be great if I can meet Duan Lingtian to return. And Wan Qingqing this month. Before they could even greet Duan Lingtian, I won't be bored anymore. Duan Lingtian in the sky above a lofty mountain teleported and disappeared. A figure that was swiftly flying past received a message. The azure green mansion slowed down. At the same time, followed the route he had learned from the profound nether mansion's even if I meet those 5 fellows and arrived outside the azure green mansion's base. And I can't eliminate them as well. He did not bother to hide at all. At this 5 fellows are the only ones worthy of me fighting with my full strength. Out of the azure green mansion's base. If I meet Duan Lingtian, Buzz, and Wan Qingqing, a gray saber ray shot out from the spatial rift. I might be able to fight them to my heart's content as well. On the 2 azure green mansion's disciples' bodies in the profound nether mansion's 3 transporting sites in the middle realm of the southern azure green mansion's disciples' expressions changed a look when they heard about Duan Lingtian. They felt as though they were facing a formidable enemy. After all, Duan Lingtian was not weak at all. If Duan Lingtian did not show mercy earlier. Moreover, they would have eliminated Yin Yan from the magic cloud mansion. They were not weak at all. However, they did not even see who had attacked them. Give Yin Yan's points to Wan Qingqing. I was wondering why Duan Lingtian's points didn't increase in the past 2 days. Were still terrified. As it turns out, Duan Lingtian teleported and appeared in front of them. It's obvious he's giving in to Azure Green Mansion's base or die. Even a hero can't resist the charms of a beautiful woman. As he stared at the 2 Azure Green Mansion's disciples. Can't break this curse. The elders and disciples of the profound nether mansions changed drastically. They thought Duan when they saw the identity token who could not resist the charms of a beautiful woman. They hastily turned around and returned to the azure green mansion. Although they were speechless, although it was inappropriate for them to voice their opinions. The group of azure green mansions disciples in the azure green mansion's base, moreover, still heard based on Duan Lingtian's current results. Even if he gave all his points to Wan Qingqing, it would still bring glory to Chapter 3175. Don't tell me that Brat is infatuated in the air above the azure from the martial battle mansion? Looking down at the azure green mansion space with a profound expression on his face, was exasperated. On the other hand, when he heard the news. The disciples in the azure green mansion space to had an unsightly expression on their faces. Don't forget about more the and more azure green mansion disciples were trapped in the azure green mansion space. Wan Qingqing isn't human at all, but did not dare to. She's not from the martial battle mansion. How did Duan Lingtian definitely not find out where the azure green mansion space is? It's best if you keep your distance from her. An azure green mansion disciple even know you're with a grim expression on his face. Don't foolishly give her the majority of your points again. Disciple passed by earlier sent more than 10 messages to Duan Lingtian. He must have leaked them were to persuade Duan Lingtian to kill him, not to be obsessed with azure green mansion disciple who was well informed realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. Is Duan Lingtian really planning to stop us from leaving the azure green mansion when he received Qi Tianming's messages? Is he trying to imitate Senior Gongsun Wuji? He quickly regained his senses the profound nether and shook his head with a wry smile on his Senior face. Gongsun Wuji? Elder Qi was unaware that he had joined forces with Senior Gongsun Wuji. He was also unaware that he owed Wan Qingqing a favor from Tan Yuan. Senior disciple of the Fire must have received the news. If he had not attacked Tan Yuan outside the Fire Glaze Mansion space, he might not have been able to eliminate Tan Yuan, even if Tan Yuan had been last month. The only reason he was able to attack Tan Yuan outside the Fire Glaze from the martial battle was because of Wan Qingqing. Would he have been able to eliminate Duan Lingtian gave Yin Yan's points if he had Wan Qingqing's help? He might be able to fight Senior Gongsun Wuji a favor. However, naturally, if he's alone, he would be able to distribute his points as per normal. Defeat him and kill him. News of us joining the azure green has already spread outside. Were furious that Duan Lingtian's voice transmission away in the azure green mansion space. Duan Lingtian, at the same time, and Wan Qingqing did not usually travel together. Appeared in the azure although they were separated by a large distance, they were here to watch the show. They could still sense there were even overarching heavenly supreme celestials among the azure green mansion. As long as one of them encountered an enemy, however, the other would immediately rush over in the azure green mansion space reached a certain number. Not many people replied through voice transmission. The number of people who could enter the base was limited to Wan Qingqing through voice transmission from the profound nether mansion. Something. As expected, his eyes narrowed. He's not even 100 years old. Swoosh! I thought the rumors were fake. Shrouded in green energy. Really amazing. Appeared in front of him. Initially, he was heading in another direction. Brother Gongsun Wuji. However, as soon as he saw Duan Lingtian, when he began to charge in Duan Lingtian's direction, the first thing he will do is flee. As the figure charged toward Duan Lingtian, he shouted coldly. Senior martial his voice was so cold that it seemed as though it could freeze the air. Speed, although the figure was not as fast as Wan Qingqing, senior martial brother, he was much faster than Duan Lingtian. Has no choice in terms of speed, but to crush his accumulative he could be considered as one of the second-tier powerhouses in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. The group of azure green manor disciples who had just entered had heard that Duan Lingtian had come to the azure green manor's camp to watch the show. After a while, the transporting figure appeared in front of Duan Lingtian that led to the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Duan Lingtian. I want to see how senior brother Gongsun kills Duan last month and eliminated even if I can't see senior brother Gongsun killing Duan Lingtian. Kill you to avenge myself. I want to see Duan Lingtian crush his accumulative point jade and flee from senior brother Gongsun Wuji. Duan Lingtian ranked as first soon as the newcomer appeared, and yet he so arrogant recognized him. How dare he come to the azure green mansion he had eliminated last month? More and more azure green mansion disciples were making their way to the 5 divine elements in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. Instead, he relied on his own strength to eliminate Lu Ji. Their eyes were focused on 2 names on the scoreboard in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. Lu Ji had been careless in eliminating Duan Lingtian ranked 7th. By the time Lu Ji discovered Duan Lingtian's strength, it was already too late. Gongsun Wuji, he did not even have the time to dodge Duan Lingtian's attack. Had 522 points, as soon as Duan Lingtian came to a halt. 383 Wan Qingqing came to a halt as well. Gongsun Wuji since she was quite a distance away from Duan Lingtian, senior brother Gongsun Wuji did not look in her direction. Destined to be first this month. He did not notice her presence. In my opinion, although she was far away, Lingtian is with her hearing. Senior brother Gongsun could still clearly hear Lu Ji's while the azure green mansion disciples were paying attention to the meeting between Gongsun Wuji and Duan Lingtian. After the high-ranking officials of the azure was not even comparable to hers. Were also paying attention even she did not dare to say she could kill Duan Lingtian's arrival in the azure green mansion's camp spread. They immediately sent a message to Gongsun Wuji. After all, it seems like the rumors are true. Was the only person in the azure green mansion, and he's not capable of defeating Duan Lingtian. The news of us joining forces of the southern heaven and how you eliminated Tan Yuan. None of the others were capable of defeating Duan Lingtian. from the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm
like wildfire.
Gongsun Wuji
However,
naturally,
obvious he doesn't
the
know
person
about
with
it.
the best performance in the Azure
sent
Green
a voice
Mansion
transmission
was
to
none other than
Duan Lingtian.
Gongsun Wuji.
She had her reasons
However,
for thinking this
after
way.
Gongsun Wuji,
After all,
the
if
person
Wuji
with the
knew
best
about this,
performance did
he
not
would not
even
have
rank
acted
in the
so
top 30.
arrogantly in front
For
of
this
Duan
reason, he
Lingtian.
was not a match
I'd like
for
to see
Duan
how you're going
Lingtian
to
at
kill
all.
me.
When
Duan
news of
Lingtian's
Duan
expression's
Lingtian's
arrival
arrival
in
in
the
the Azure Green
Green
Mansion's
Mansion's
camp in the middle
was
realm
filled
of
with
the
killing
southern heaven
intent.
ancient realm,
However,
reached the
Lu
ears
Ji
of
was
the
even
other
more
grade
furious
6 celestial
when he saw
mansions.
Duan Lingtian's
Duan
nonchalant
Lingtian
expression.
went to the
You
Azure
won't be
Green
as lucky
Mansion's
as you
camp
were
again.
last month.
Is he addicted
As soon
to
as he
visiting
finished
other
speaking,
grade 6
Lu
celestial
Ji
mansions
pounced towards
camps?
Duan Lingtian
In my
like an
opinion,
eagle.
Duan
At the same
Lingtian must
time,
be targeting
green
the Azure
gales
Green
raged
Mansion.
all over his body.
Everyone knows the
causing
profound
waves
nether
of crisp
mansion
wind sounds
and the
to
Azure
resound
Green
in the
Mansion
void,
don't get
followed
along
by
well.
faintly discernible
Moreover,
wind blades.
Gongsun Wuji has visited the profound nether mansion's camp a few times before.
Lu Ji rushed towards
the Azure
Duan
Green
Lingtian
Mansion
like
is
a
different
ghost,
from the Fire
followed
Glaze
by a
Mansion.
sky full of wind
Last
blades
month,
that were no
Duan
slower than Lu
Lingtian
Ji's movement
managed
speed.
to stop the
They
Fire
gathered
Glaze
together
Mansion's
like
camp
raindrops
because
falling
he
from the
defeated
sky,
Tan Yuan,
enveloping
the Fire
Duan
Glaze
Lingtian
Mansion's strongest
and penetrating
disciple
every
in the
inch
middle
of his
realm
body.
of the southern
As
heaven
soon as
ancient
Lu
realm.
Ji made his move,
On the other hand,
he used almost all
Gongsun
the
Wuji
profundities
isn't
of the
someone
law of
Tan Yuan
wind
can
that
compare
he had
to.
comprehended.
Gongsun Wuji
On the
is
other
on par
hand,
with Shimen
Duan
Haoxian.
Lingtian calmly
Although
raised
Duan
his hand
Lingtian
and
defeated
waved it through
Shimen
the air.
Haoxian before.
The next moment,
That was only because he had won
a spatial
Qing's
crack
help.
appeared in the
How
path
is he
of the
going to
wind
defeat
blades.
Gongsun Wuji without Wan
After the spatial
Qing's help?
crack, the
Most
gray
of the
blade
people
light
from
from
the
the
grade 6
and
celestial
circled around
mansions
Duan
were not
Lingtian's
optimistic
body.
about
During
Duan
this
Lingtian's
process,
chances.
the gray
In
saber
the
light was
profound
like
nether
an inflated
mansion,
balloon,
Senior
rapidly
brother Duan
expanding.
Lingtian
At the
went
same
to the
time,
Azure Green Mansion's
wisps of
camp.
golden flames
How
raged
reckless.
on the surface
He's
of the
too
gray
reckless.
blade light.
Doesn't
and
he know the
enveloped
Azure
it in
Green
the blink
Mansion
of an
has
eye.
Gongsun Wuji?
Wang.
Tan Yuan from the
Wang.
Fire Glaze
Wang.
Mansion can't
Wang.
compare to
At this
Gongsun
moment,
Wuji.
The sky
I
full
hope
of
he'll
wind
leave after
blades
staying
that were
in
less
the
than
Azure
10
Green
meters
Mansion's
away
camp
from
for a
Duan
while.
Lingtian.
If
Directly
Gongsun
charged
Wuji
into
arrives,
Duan Lingtian's
he'll have no
space
choice
territory.
but to crush his
Although
accumulative
Duan
point
Lingtian's
jade.
space territory contained the distorting profundities of the law of space.
Similar to the people
It
from
still
the
could
grade
not
6
withstand
celestial
Lu
mansions,
Ji's storm-like
the
wind
people
blade
from the
attacks.
profound nether
Under
mansion
the direct
were not
attack of the
optimistic
wind
about
blades,
Duan Lingtian's
Duan
chances.
Lingtian was steadily
What are you
losing
trying to
ground.
do?
Hurry
Lu
up
Ji,
and
who
leave
had
the
sensed
Azure
this,
Green Mansion's
flew
camp.
out with the wind
Once
blades with a
Gongsun
smug
Wuji
smile
arrives,
on his
he
face.
won't be able to
At
escape.
this moment,
After
Lu
Qi
Ji felt as
Tianming
though he
learned
could
about
already see
Duan
Duan
Lingtian's
Lingtian
actions in the
dying in
middle
front of
realm
him.
of the southern
Go.
heaven ancient realm.
However,
he
even
hurriedly
though the
sent
wind
a
blades
message
that
to
filled
urge
the
Duan
sky had the
Lingtian
upper hand
to leave the
and were
Azure
about to
Green
land on
Mansion's
him.
camp. Duan
Meanwhile,
Lingtian
in the
still
middle
waved his
realm of
hand
the southern
calmly.
heaven ancient realm,
More and more
in the
people
next
joined the
moment,
crowd
the
to
gray
watch the
blade
Azure
light
Green
that was
Mansion's
circling
camp.
around him shot
Duan
out like a bolt
Lingtian
of
went
gray
to the
lightning.
Azure Green Mansion's camp. The gray lightning swept across the void
an
and
inner
circled
court
around.
disciple from the
The
martial
gray
battle
blade light
mansion
with golden flames
had also
raged
entered
on
the
and
middle
on,
realm of the
forming
southern
a
heaven
powerful
ancient realm
offensive
a few
attack
days ago
that met the
She had
wind
also
blades in the
received
sky.
messages from
The
her
two of
senior
them
and
held
junior
on for a
sisters
while about
the
Duan
golden
Lingtian's
flames around the gray
visit
blade
to the
light
Azure
dimmed
Green
completely,
Mansion's camp, as though they would be
He's too
extinguished
rash.
at any time.
However,
the
he
wind
doesn't
blades
seem like
that
a
filled the
reckless
sky were
person.
also annihilated.
Why would he do such a thing?
Upon seeing this,
Is it
Lu
possible
Ji's
that
eyes
he's
widened.
confident he can
An
deal with
expression of
Gongsun
shock and
Wuji?
disbelief appeared
Wan
on his face.
Qingqing shook her
He
head
could
when
not
she
help
thought
but
about
exclaim.
it.
She
No,
felt she was being
impossible.
too naive. About
However,
half an hour
when
later,
the gray blade
Wan
light charged at
Qingqing
him like a
received
bolt
another
of lightning.
message.
Wan
Lu Ji had no
Qingqing
choice
received
but
another
to accept
message.
it.
This
His
time,
celestial
it was
origin
from one of
energy
her junior
that had merged
sisters,
with the wind
telling her
elemental
the
route
route
to the Azure Green
erupted
Mansion's
as he
camp.
dodged the gray blade
Moreover,
light's attack.
it was not far
Swoosh.
from her.
Swoosh.
I wonder if
Swoosh.
Gongsun Wuji
Swoosh.
has returned to the
Swoosh.
Azure Green
Lu
Mansion's
Ji's
camp.
body swayed like a
After
gust of
receiving
wind
the
as he
message,
narrowly dodged
Wan
the gray blade
Qingqing
light.
immediately made her way
Swoosh.
to the Azure
After
Green
dodging the
Mansion's
fatal
camp.
blade light.
Initially,
Lu Ji's
there were
expression
only a
changed
few
again
people from the
before
other
he could even
celestial
catch his
mansions
breath.
outside
This
the
was
Azure
because
Green
when Lu
Mansion's
Ji
camp.
came to a halt
All
a
of them
few
stayed as
meters
far
away
away from Duan
a figure
Lingtian
appeared
as
in the
possible.
void not far far away
After
from
all,
him.
they
It
were
was
afraid
none other than
Duan
Lingtian would
Lingtian,
attack them,
who had
As time
teleported
passed,
to Lu Ji's
more
side.
and more people arrived.
Shackle,
Before
people
Lu
from
Ji
the
could
other
react,
celestial mansions
Duan
gathered in
Lingtian
groups
had cast
and
the shackle
avoided attacking
protecting
each
from the
other.
law of space
All of
to
them were
shackle the
looking at
space
Duan
around
Lingtian.
Lingtian.
Do you
So
think
many
you can
people
trap
are
me?
here to watch
How
the
laughable.
show.
Duan
Although Lu
Lingtian
Ji was
shackled
slightly
by
taken
Duan
aback
Lingtian
when he saw
he
the
quickly
people from
regained
the
his
other
composure.
celestial mansions.
Then,
he
could
could
see
see
a familiar
energy
face
surged
among
out of
them.
his body.
It was Hung
and formed
Feng,
hundreds
an
and
inner court
thousands of wind
disciple of the
blades.
martial battle
As
mansion.
the wind blades
When
swept out
Duan
of Lu
Lingtian
Ji's body,
shifted his gaze to
the
Hung
outline
Feng.
of the space
Hung
around
Feng
Lu Ji
nodded at Duan
was shackled
Lingtian
by a layer of
and
golden
forced an ugly
flames,
smile on his
revealing
face.
the outline
Soon
of the space
after,
shackle.
Another
A
figure
cuboid
appeared
burning
among
with
the
golden
people from the
flames
martial
trapped Lu
battle
Ji
mansion.
inside.
It was none other than Wan Qingqing,
although there was
who
a
had
layer
just
of
arrived.
golden flame between
It's
Lu
Wan
Ji and
Qingqing.
Duan Ling Tian.
Wan Qingqing is
The
here.
golden flame was
Will she join
translucent.
forces with
Through
Duan
it,
Ling Tian?
Duan Ling Tian
I don't think
and Lu
so.
Ji could still
If she
see
joins
each other.
forces with
It's
Duan
over.
Ling Tian to
When
deal
the
with
golden
Gongsun
flames
Wuji,
ignited in the
the
space
Azure
shackle
Green
that
Mansion
trapped
won't
Lu
let
Ji,
her off the hook
Wan
easily.
Qingqing walked
That's
out
right.
and stood
If
next
it were
to
any
Duan
other
Ling
place,
Tian.
the
Wan
Azure Green
Qingqing
Mansion would have
Lu
nothing
Ji
to
saw
say
Wan
if she joined
Qingqing
forces
appear
before
with
the
Duan
wind
Ling
blade
Tian
swept out
to eliminate
She did not
Gongsun
attack
Wuji.
Duan Ling Tian.
However, this is the
Instead,
Azure
she
Green
stood
Mansion's
next to
camp.
Duan Ling Tian.
If she joins
Lu
forces
Ji's
with Duan
expression
Ling
changed
Tian,
immediately.
she'll definitely
As long
offend
as
the
he was
Azure
not
Green
stupid,
Mansion.
it was not
Apart
difficult
from those
for him
from
to
the
guess what
profound
this
nether
meant.
mansion.
I'm afraid no one would dare to join forces with Duan Ling Tian.
At the same time,
regardless of
Lu
which
Ji
celestial
discovered
mansion
that no
they're
matter
from,
how hard he tried
anyone
to
who
destroy the
dares to
space
join
shackle,
forces with
he could
Duan
not
Ling
break
Tian
it.
even when he
enemy of
attacked
the
with
Azure
all his
Green
might.
Mansion.
The space
Many
shackle
people
did
turned
not
to
show
look at
any
Wan
signs of
Qingqing
collapsing
as soon as she appeared.
How's this possible?
Do you need help?
This Duan
Wan
Ling
Qingqing
Tian stepped
How is he
forward
so strong?
and asked through voice
Lu
transmission
Ji's expression
as she
changed
looked at
again
Duan
and
Ling
again.
Tian. He did not
Junior
expect
sister
Duan
Qing
Ling
Tian
Tian to be so
Hung
strong.
Feng's expression changed drastically.
If
Although
he had known
could not
earlier
hear
that
Wan
Duan Ling
Qingqing's voice
Tian possessed
transmission,
such strength,
he could tell
no
what
matter
she was
how much
thinking
he hated
based on her
Duan Ling
expression
Tian
and gaze.
for catching him
Wan
off guard last
Qingqing
month.
wanted to help Duan
He
Ling
wouldn't
Tian.
have dared to be arrogant
There's
in
no
front
need
of
for
Duan
that.
Ling Tian.
Duan Ling
When he
Tian
encountered
was
him
slightly
this month.
surprised when he
In
heard
fact,
Wan
he would have
Qingqing's
buried
voice
this hatred
transmission
deep in his heart. Even Tan Yuan from the Fire Glaze Mansion couldn't
looked
break
at
my
Wan
space
Qingqing
shackle.
and
And
saw
saw
the
the determination
determination in
stronger
her
than
eyes.
his? He could
Duan
tell she
Ling
was
Tian
sincere
asked
about helping
curiously
him as he
She
glanced
was
at
willing
Lu
to
Ji.
risk offending
Tan
the
Yuan?
Azure Green
Lu
Mansion.
Ji's body
Duan
stiffened
Ling
when he
Tian
heard
was
touched by
Wan
Wan
Qingqing's
Qingqing's
actions.
Why you? After
Did you
all,
eliminate Tan
although
Yuan?
he had worked with Wan
Tan Yuan,
Qingqing for a few
the Fire
days,
Glaze Mansion's
he did not
disciple,
expect Wan Qingqing
was one of the
would
top
be
10
willing to risk
disciples
her
in the
life for
middle
him.
realm of the
Are you
Southern Heaven
confident?
Ancient Realm.
Wan
Lu
Qingqing
Ji
asked
had
through
encountered
voice
Tan
transmission
Yuan
again.
a few times.
Yes, but Tan
Duan
Yuan
Ling
had
Tian
eliminated
replied.
him every time.
Wan Qingqing
Although
finally
Lu Ji's
retreated,
speed was on par
Hung
with
Feng
Tan
sighed in
Yuan's.
relief when he saw
Tan
this.
Yuan's overall
Duan
strength
Ling
was
Tian,
far superior
about
to Lu
15
Ji's.
minutes later,
Are you so
a
uninformed?
cold voice rang
I'm
from the
sure
distance.
there are many people outside
It was getting
who
closer
are
and
paying
closer.
attention.
It was
to the
clear
middle
the person
realm
who had
of the
spoken
Southern
was
Heaven
rapidly
ancient
approaching
realm.
Duan Ling
I'm sure
Tian.
there's no one who
Senior
doesn't know
Gongsun
about me
Wuji.
eliminating Tan Yuan, right? Didn't anyone tell you about this through voice transmission? Duan Ling Tian feigned surprise. Chapter 3176. Don't tell me you don't know that I'm
It's
ranked
Gongsun
8th on the
Wuji's voice.
scoreboard and have more
Gongsun
than
Wuji is
300
here.
points. Many of the
Lu
people
Ji's
from the
expression
various immortal
darkened as
mansions
Duan
had
Ling
heard the
Tian
voice of
continued to
Gongsun
speak.
Wuji.
In the
Accord
end, his
disciple of
attacks
the
on the
Azure
space
Green
around
Mansion
him began to
Therefore,
weaken.
they recognized
Duan
him
Ling
immediately.
Tian is currently
A
ranked
moment
8th,
later, and I'm
a
ranked
figure
7th.
clad in a black
It's
robe
all
appeared
thanks
in
to
front
him
of them.
that I
It
managed
was a
to
handsome
eliminate
young
Yin
man
Yan
with sharp eyes
from the Magic Cloud
in a
Mansion.
flash.
He
At
appeared
this
above
moment,
the Azure Green
Wan
Mansion's
Qingqing,
camp
who was
and
standing
stared
next
at
to
Duan
Ling
Ling
Tian
Tian
from
chimed
afar.
in. Duan
Your
Ling
Duan
Tian
Ling
was
Tian?
taken aback
The black
when he
robed
heard
young
Wan
man
Qingqing
stared
coldly
words.
at Duan Ling
After
Tian
spending some time
and asked
together,
in a cold voice.
Duan Ling Tian
Gongsun
had
Wuji
learned a lot about
Duan
Wan
Ling
Qingqing.
Tian looked at the
He knew
black-robed
she was
young
cold
man
on the
with battle
outside,
intent
but
in
warm
his
on the
eyes.
inside.
Ever since
did
he
not
obtained the
expect her to
Supreme
say
Godhead,
something like
his
this.
strength had
This
skyrocketed.
did not seem like Wan
His current
Qingqing at
strength
all.
was completely
Upon
different
hearing
from
Wan
before he
Qingqing's
obtained the
words,
Supreme
Lu
Godhead.
Ji finally
It could
stopped
even be
attacking
said that the
and
difference
brought out
between
his
them was like
accumulative
heaven
point
and
jade
earth.
at lightning speed.
However, he did
Just
not
as
make
Lu
a move
Ji
after
was about
that.
to crush his
This
accumulative
time,
point
he
jade
didn't eliminate
to leave the middle
Azure
realm
Green Mansion
of the Southern
disciples.
Heaven Ancient
When he
Realm.
arrived at the
Swoosh.
Azure Green
A
Mansion's
frighteningly
encampment.
fast cyan silhouette
Instead,
streaked
he
across
gave them
the
a
void.
chance to escape
At this
back to their
moment,
camp.
time seemed to have
This was
stopped.
because he did not
Then,
come to the
before
Azure Green
Lu Ji
Mansion's
could crush
camp
the
just to
accumulative
accumulate
point jade.
points. The
His
cyan
main goal
silhouette
this time was
snatched
to
the
force
accumulative
Gongsun
point
Wuji,
jade away. A core
Swoosh.
disciple of the Azure
Wan
Green
Qingqing's
Mansion
silhouette
did
did
not
not disappear
disappear
before
before
it
it
reappeared.
He wanted to fight
At the same
Gongsun
time,
Wuji
a
to show off his
cumulative
strength.
point jade appeared
And
in her
also
hand.
for the points
It was
Gongsun
none
Wuji
other
had.
than Lu Ji's
Before he
accumulative
came to the
point
Azure
jade.
Green Mansion's
before Wan Qingqing
he had gone out once to check the scoreboard,
had already told her to keep an eye on Lu Ji.
was ranked
If
second
Lu Ji
with
tried to crush his
513
accumulative
points.
point jade,
Now Gongsun
she had to
Wuji's
snatch
points
it
had
from
to
him.
be higher.
Wan Qingqing
What helpers
was
do
not
you have?
confident she
Call
could
them
snatch
out.
Lu Ji's
You alone aren't a
accumulative
match
point
for me.
jade. From
Gongsun
such a distance,
Wuji
sneered at
For
Duan
this
Lingtian.
reason,
She
he had a
decided
rough
to appear
idea
next
of
to
Duan
Duan
Lingtian's
Lingtian.
strength.
At this
Although
distance,
he did not have much of
she
a
was
relationship
confident she
with
could
Shimen
snatch Lu
Haoxuan.
Ji's
He
accumulative
had a close
point
relationship with Shimen Haoxuan. However, he had a good relationship with one of the Red Leaves Mansion's inner court
with his
disciples
accumulative
who knew
points
Shimen
jade
Haoxuan.
taken away.
From that
Lu
Red
Ji
Leaves
could no
Mansion's
longer
disciple
leave through the
he learned
transportation
about
formation
Duan
and
Lingtian's
the
strengths
accumulative
and
points
weaknesses.
jade.
He
Duan
could only
Lingtian's
rely on
advantage
himself
was
to
offense.
return to the Celestial
Speed was
Mansion's
Duan
camp
Lingtian's weakness
and leave through the
shortcoming.
transportation
It's
formation
just me.
there. I don't have
However,
any helpers.
Lu Ji was currently trapped in the confinement space by
As for whether or not I'm your opponent,
since he could not
we
break
haven't
out
even
of the
fought
confinement
yet.
space,
And you're already
it was
jumping
obvious
to
he
conclusions.
could not return to the
Aren't you being
Han
too
Qing
hasty?
Mansion's camp on his
Just
own.
you?
Moreover,
Gongsun Wuji
with Wan
sneered
Qing
deepened,
around,
and then his eyes
even if
flashed
Duan
with
Ling
killing
Tian
intent.
did not restrain him,
It seems that you are
he
here
would
to
not
die
have a
today.
chance to return
You want
to the
kill
Han
me?
Qing Mansion's
Let's see
camp.
if you have the ability.
Although he was fast,
Seeing
Wan
the killing
Qing
intent
was
in
faster than
Gongsun
him.
Wuji's eyes.
Whoosh!
Duan Ling
Tian's
Tian's
expression
narrowed
changed
eyes,
drastically
and a
when
cold
Wan
light
Qing
flashed
through them, took his
From the
accumulative
moment
points
Gongsun
jade
Wuji's
away.
killing intent
His eyes
rose,
widened in horror.
He had no intention
Even
of
his body
holding back
began
in
to
this
tremble
battle.
violently at this
10
moment
breaths
due
to
to
kill
the
you.
excessive
I
shock
only need 10
and fright
breaths
he
of
time
felt.
at most.
Let me give you a
Gongsun
piece of
Wuji
advice.
said coldly.
Duan
As his
Ling
voice
Tian
fell,
looked at Lu Ji
Gongsun
calmly
Wuji's
and
black
said
robe
unhurriedly,
fluttered,
and a
"In your
piercing
next
blue
life,
wind rose from
if
his
you want
body.
to seek revenge
Clearly,
again,
Gongsun
it's best if
Wuji
you
had
investigate
comprehended
the background
of
of
your
your
enemy
before
Swoosh.
you decide
As
what to
soon
do
as
next.
the blue wind rose from
Otherwise,
his body,
you might be killed
Gongsun
instead
Wuji
of
locked
avenging
his gaze
yourself.
on Duan Ling Tian.
As soon as he
With the
finished
sway of
speaking,
his body,
the corners
he
of
left
Duan Ling
after images
Tian's
in his
mouth
wake
curled up into
as
a
he
cold
shot
arc
toward
buzz.
Duan Ling Tian.
The gray saber
Buzz.
light swept
Buzz.
past, killing Lu Ji.
Buzz.
Just as he
Buzz.
was about to kneel and beg
Gongsun
for
Wuji
mercy
left after images in his
experiencing
wake
the terror
as he
and
charged
torment
toward
of life
Duan
and
Ling
death.
Tian.
When
At
Lu
the
Ji
same
died,
time,
his eyes
wind
were
blade
wide
shot
open,
toward
and
Duan
his
Ling
mouth was
Tian as
agape.
well.
His
Gongsun
expression
Wuji's
was one of
speed
horror,
was so fast
as
that
soon
many
as
people
Lu Ji
could
was
not even
killed,
see his
Wan
movements.
Qing through the
How
accumulative
fast?
point jade in her
Gongsun
hand
Wuji
to
must
Duan
have
Ling
comprehended
Tian,
all the
and took a
profundities
step from the
back.
law of wind.
In the next moment,
Otherwise, he
the
wouldn't be so
accumulative
fast.
points
Jade shattered.
In the past,
and all of
I
Lu
only knew
Ji's points
Gongsun
were
Wuji
taken
was
by
strong,
Duan Ling Tian.
but I've never seen
Lu
him in
Ji
action.
still has more than 60 points. After killing Lu Ji,
Thanks
Duan
to
Ling
Duan Ling
Tian looked
Tian,
at his
I'm
accumulative
lucky enough
points
to see him in
jade
action
and discovered his
Apart
points
from the
had
Azure
increased
Green
to
Mansion's
387.
disciples in the Azure Green
It was
Mansion's
obvious
base.
Lu Ji had given
Even
him
the weakest
65
among them
points.
was a 10
This
directions
was because he
celestial
originally
duke.
only had
They were shocked by
322
Gongsun
points.
Wuji's
speed.
But
Lu
it was
Ji
not
is
difficult
digging
to
his own
tell.
grave.
Gongsun
Wan
Wuji had
Qing coldly
comprehended all
glanced
the
at Lu
profundities
Ji's
from the
corpse
law of
and
wind.
thought to herself,
Gongsun
along the
Wuji's
way,
speed seems to be
she and
slightly
Duan Ling
faster
Tian
than Wan
had met people who
Qing's.
didn't want to kill
Even
them.
Shimen Haoshuan's
Therefore, when
speed
they
is slightly
eliminated those
inferior
people,
to him.
they didn't kill
Duan
them.
Ling Tian could tell
Furthermore,
Gongsun Wuji's
even when
speed was
Duan
the
Ling Tian
fastest
had
he had
gone to
seen
the
in
fire
middle
glaze
realm of
manor's
the Southern
camp,
Heaven Ancient
Duan
Realm
Ling Tian
previously
had not killed a
even
single
if he
person
joined
from the
forces
fire
with Wan
glaze manor.
Qing.
At that
Wan
time,
Qing
it was
might not
clear
be
that
able to
Duan
stop
Ling
Gongsun
Tian was
Wuji
not a person
if
who killed
Gongsun Wuji
indiscriminately.
was determined
This
to
time,
escape.
although
Though
Duan
Duan
Ling
Ling
Tian
focused
had
on
killed Lu
speed,
Ji,
so it would
she
be
could
easy for
completely
Gongsun
understand
Wuji
why
to
he
break
had done
free
so.
from Wan Qing's
She knew very
law of
well in
wood.
her heart.
This was an advantage
Today,
that Shimen
if Lu Ji was
Haoshuan,
stronger than
who had
Duan Ling
comprehended
Tian,
the law of
the one
destruction,
to die would be
did not
Duan
have.
Ling Tian.
Naturally,
Let's go.
This did not
After
mean
taking
Shimen
Haoshuan's
Haoshuan was
storage
weaker
ring,
than Gongsun
Duan
Wuji.
Ling Tian bid
Both of them
farewell
had
to Wan
encountered each other
Qing
many times
before continuing
and they had
onward
even
with her.
fought several
Up
times.
until now,
However,
Duan Ling
they had
Tian
always
had
ended
been
in
in
a
the
draw.
middle realm of
Although
the Southern
Shimen
Heaven
Haoshuan
Ancient
was
Realm.
slightly slower
For
than
almost
Gongsun
5 days,
Wuji,
while Wan
he was not much
Qing
slower.
had been in the
In
middle
terms of
realm
overall
for
strength,
almost 7
the
days.
two of them were equally
I
matched.
just hope I'll be able
Neither
to
of
meet
them
one of the
could do
6
anything
people
to the
before
other.
she leaves.
Swoosh!
Duan
When
Ling Tian
Gongsun
thought to
Wuji
himself,
charged toward Duan
in
Ling
3
Tian,
days,
Wan
Duan Ling
Tian
Tian would be
teleported
forcefully
and
transported
disappeared
out
from
of
the
the
spot.
middle realm
When
of
he
the Southern
reappeared,
Heaven Ancient
he was
Realm.
already 100
At that
meters
time,
away. Without
the
Wan
teleportation
Qing's help,
profundity,
he would not
it's the
be
law
able
of
to
space's
eliminate
teleportation
any of the 6
profundity.
people.
Duan
I
Ling
can't see
Tian,
any traces of
Wan
Duan
Qing
Ling
looked at Duan Ling
moving
Tian
from one
and
end to
reminded
the
him.
other.
This
Although
means
Lu
he
Ji
vanished
isn't
into
very
thin
popular
air
in the
before
Han
vanishing
Qing
into
Mansion.
thin air.
The Han
The
Qing Mansion
teleportation
won't let this
profundity
matter rest
allows one to
after you've
teleport
killed
from
an
one
inner
place
court
to another.
disciple of the Han
It's
Qing
normal
Mansion.
that we can't see his
When
movements.
Duan Ling Tian
Duan
do
Ling
things,
Tian's
I seek to
teleportation
have a clear
profundity
conscience.
caused the eyes of
Duan
the
Ling
people
Tian
from the other
replied
celestial
indifferently.
mansions to
From
light
the
up.
beginning until the
This
end,
was the first
he
time
did
they
not
had
seem
seen
to be
someone
affected
use
at
the
all.
law of space's
It was as though the
teleportation
Han Qing
profundity. Mansion was just a paper tiger. Was one of the 4 supreme laws. It was difficult to comprehend. Could tell although there were many celestial mansions in the southern heaven territory. For a moment, her opinion of Duan the law of space rose slightly. Most of them had only comprehended the transporting formations in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. The teleportation profundity were extremely rare. Celestial mansions. Gongsun Wuji was not surprised by Duan Lingtian's teleportation profundity, who was pushed to the 8th place before he moved again from the martial battle mansion. Suddenly gained a huge boost in his points. Gongsun Wuji charged toward Duan Lingtian at an even faster speed. On the other hand, this time, Duan Lingtian was only a foot away from Duan Lingtian's point suddenly increased before Gongsun Wuji teleported away. Who did he eliminate? It looked like a close call. Look, many people broke out in cold sweat for Duan Lingtian when they saw this. Luji, although the law of space's teleportation profundity is profound, was eliminated by Duan Lingtian consecutively, right? That's right. Lu Ji was eliminated by Duan
on the current
Lingtian
situation.
last month.
Lu Ji is
really
unlucky
to
this
catch
time.
Duan Lingtian.
He encountered Duan Lingtian again.
Moreover,
the teleportation
he encountered
Duan
for the third
Lingtian,
time, who has
a
one
disciple from a
Qing's
great
helped
sixth
celestial mansion.
Most people in the major celestial mansions
had heard about Lu Ji being eliminated by Duan
many people had seen through
Gongsun Wuji's trick as well.
They knew Lu Ji
now
was
that
dissatisfied with Duan
Lingtian's
I'd like to see how you're going
Lu
to
Ji
dodge
had
my
even
next
vowed
attack.
to seek revenge the next
Gongsun
time
Wuji's
he encountered
cold laughter
Duan
rang in the
Lingtian.
air.
This
causing
month,
the disciples
Lu Ji
in
met
the Azure
Duan
Green
Lingtian
Mansion
as he had
camped to
wished.
grow excited.
However,
The
Senior brother
outcome was
Gongsun
the same as
Wuji
the
killed
previous
him.
month.
Senior
He
brother
was eliminated
Gongsun
by
Wuji
Duan
killed Duan
Lingtian.
I just
With
received
Gongsun
news from the
Wuji's senior
Hanqing
brother.
mansion.
Why would he
Not
need
only
10
was
breaths?
Lu Ji
He'll
eliminated
only
by
need
Duan
3 breaths
Lingtian
to kill him,
but he was
The
also killed
disciples
by
from the
Duan
Azure
Lingtian.
Green Mansion were
It did not
confident
take
in
long
Gongsun
before news
Wuji.
of Lu Ji being
Swoosh.
killed by Duan
Swoosh.
Lingtian
Swoosh.
spread in the major
Swoosh.
celestial
Swoosh.
mansions. A
Lu
series
Ji
of
was the
afterimages
second
appeared
person
again
Duan
as they
Lingtian
streaked across
had
the
killed
sky,
in the middle realm
heading
of the
straight
southern
for
heaven
Duan
ancient
Lingtian,
realm.
who had
I remember
teleported
Duan
100
Lingtian.
meters away again.
Didn't kill
It
anyone
was as
when
though
he
he
went
would
to the
not
Fire
give up
Glaze
until
Mansion
he had
space,
hit
right?
his target.
No, he
This
didn't.
time, before
Most
Lu
people
Ji,
thought
Duan
Duan
Lingtian
Lingtian
would
had
be
only
caught by
killed one
Gongsun
person.
Wuji.
However,
Even Gongsun Wuji
that person
thought
was
so.
from the Azure
However,
Green Mansion.
when Gongsun
The people
Wuji
from
was
the
still a
Azure Green
distance away
Mansion
from Duan Lingtian
and the Profound Nether Mansion
Duan
are like fire and
teleported
water.
again.
When they
Impossible.
encounter each other in the
Seeing
middle
this,
realm of the
Gongsun
southern heaven
Wuji
ancient
abruptly
realm,
stopped in his
they'll
tracks.
fight to the death.
His originally calm
Lu Ji
expression
is naturally
finally
ruthless.
changed.
However,
He must have
he
viewed
soon
Duan
discovered
Lingtian
something else
as his enemy,
Duan Lingtian,
since he was
did not
eliminated by
teleport
Duan
100
Lingtian
meters
last
away.
month.
Instead,
This
he
time,
appeared 50
he must
meters
have wanted
away.
to kill Duan Lingtian.
It's the transportation
That's why
profundity.
Duan Lingtian
As
decided
expected
to kill him.
Duan
Isn't
Lingtian
it
has
obvious?
comprehended the law
Duan
of
Lingtian
space's
didn't
transportation
kill Lu Ji
profundity
when he eliminated Lu
with
Ji
his
last
cultivation
month.
base
And yet,
and his
Lu Ji
comprehension
killed
of
Lu
the
Ji
law of
this month.
space's
If
teleportation
Lu Ji wanted to
profundity
kill
and
Duan
transportation
Lingtian,
profundity,
would Duan Lingtian
his
kill Lu
speed
Ji?
is definitely in the
Although
top
the people
echelon
from the
in the
major
middle
celestial
realm of the
mansions
southern
did
heaven
not know
ancient
Duan
realm.
Lingtian.
He's not much
It was
slower
not
than
difficult
Wan
for them to
Qing.
deduce Duan
I was only
Lingtian
willing to let
was
him
not a
join
bloodthirsty
forces with
person
Wan Qing
based on Duan Lingtian's
because of her
behavior.
speed. However, it seems like he's not
Even
any
the
slower
people from
than Wan
Hanqing
Qing
residents,
It
where
seems
Lu Ji
like the
lived,
reason he
had
joined
the same
forces
thought.
with Wan Qing
However,
last month,
since Duan
was to
Lingtian
find
had
someone who
killed
could
Lu
help
Ji,
him restrain his
it meant
opponent.
Duan Lingtian
The disciples
become
from
an
the other
enemy of
grade
the
1
Hanqing
celestial
mansion.
mansions were
Even
shocked.
if they did not
when
fight
they
to
saw
the death,
Duan Lingtian,
they would not treat
casting
Duan
the
Lingtian
transportation
amicably.
profundity. As
After
time
the
passed,
teleportation
the names on the
profundity,
scoreboard continued
when
to
did he
change.
comprehend the
Even
transportation
the names in the top
profundity,
10,
Wan
such as the
Qing was
10th and 9th
shocked.
places,
She knew
were
Duan
constantly
Lingtian
changing.
did not
Only the
comprehend
names
the
in the top 8
transportation
did not
profundity
change.
last month.
It was as though
At
they
most,
had taken
he
root
had
in
only
the top 8.
comprehended the basics.
Duan Lingtian was
Otherwise,
still in 7th place.
Duan Lingtian
Wan Qing
could have
was still in
eliminated
8th
her
place.
as well after
However, as
eliminating
time
Hung
passed,
Feng.
their points
Since Duan
continued to
Lingtian
increase.
had
Although
comprehended
the
the
increase was
teleportation
slow,
profundity,
it did not take
and the
long for the gap
transportation
between them to
profundity
widen.
at the same time.
The difference
It was
between the 8th and
impossible
9th
for him
place
to be
was
slower
close
than
to
her.
100 points.
It seems like
it was
he
a dividing
comprehended
line.
the transportation
The difference
profundity
between 7th and
before
6th
entering
place
the
was
middle
nearly
realm.
200
I
points,
was wondering where he
which
got
was
the
also a
confidence
dividing
to
line.
come to the Azure
Duan
Green
Lingtian's
Mansion's
base.
base.
The gap
Hung
between
Feng,
you and the
who was
person
standing
who's
at
ranked
the
ahead
side
of you is
side.
widening.
Not many
I
people
can only
knew
stay
Duan
in the middle
Lingtian's
realm
strength.
for one more day.
However,
if we
since
don't
Hung
encounter
Feng had been
anyone who's
eliminated
ranked
twice
ahead of
by
you,
Duan Lingtian,
I'm afraid it'll be
he knew
difficult
a lot
for
about
you to
Duan
advance any
Lingtian's
further.
strength.
Wan
However,
Qing said to
even
Wan
if he has
Qing,
comprehended the
in the middle
transportation
realm of the
profundity,
southern heaven ancient
he's still
realm,
slower than
she told
Gongsun
Duan
Wuji.
Lingtian,
As long
it
as
had
he
been 2
doesn't
days
flee
since
and gives
Gongsun
Gongsun
Wuji
Wuji
enough
enough
time.
time,
Gongsun
and Wan
Wuji will catch
Qing
up
had
to him.
spent 9 days
However,
in the middle realm
before
of the southern
Gongsun
heaven
Wuji
ancient
catches
realm.
up to him,
Even if Wan
I'm afraid
Qing
Gongsun Wuji
and Wan
won't be able
Qing
to
did
withstand
not
his
leave the
attacks.
middle realm.
They would still be forcefully sent out of the middle realm. Although Wan Qing and Duan Lingtian had encountered a few people over the past 2 days.
In terms of overall
None of them
strength,
were ranked on the
Ximen
top
Hao
of the middle
Xian was
realm.
on par with
However,
Gongsun Wuji.
none of those
In terms
people
of
were ranked
speed,
at the top of the
Ximen Hao
rankings.
Xian was slightly
Not
inferior
even one of
to
them was
Gongsun
ranked in the
Wuji.
top 50.
However,
in terms
currently,
of other aspects,
there's a difference of
Gongsun
196 slightly inferior to Ximen person who's ranked 6. Duan Lingtian's attack was so strong that even constantly informed about the changes on the scoreboard through voice transmission. And she knew the difference between Duan had publicly said Duan Lingtian's attack was unrivaled in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Round. This meant Gongsun Wuji, after 2 days of accumulation, strength, his points had increased from 380 plus. There was no way Gongsun Wuji would be a match for him. But even so, Gongsun Wuji had still a difference of 196 points between him and the person ranked transportation profundity.
However,
he might have had a chance of winning with a huge gap between you and the person ranked 6th on the scoreboard. Revealed he had comprehended the transportation profundity in front of the rudimentary stage. Even the person ranked first on the scoreboard to defeat has only 266 points more than you. Was still faster than Duan Lingtian. The rankings of the top difference was constantly changing. Damn it! And this has been the norm for the past few years. Of space's transportation profundity might be able to get first place. Was unwilling to their final ranking is more dependent on no match for Duan Lingtian at this moment. There's a difference of 196 points between me and the person whose rank G was reluctant. There's a difference of 266 to the Azure Green Mansion's base, and the person whose rank even if he did not return to the Azure Green Mansion's glinted as he thought he had to stay away from Duan Lingtian. It seemed like luck was the only thing he could do to improve his ranking. Would be able to defeat if he was unlucky and did not encounter anyone with a higher number of points as he made his way back to the Azure Green Mansion's base. At this moment, a voice rang in the air as Duan Lingtian. And it was none other than Duan Lingtian. The voice was getting closer and closer to them. So, you're Duan Lingtian? Didn't you want to kill me? Upon hearing the voice, are you trying to run away now? Duan Lingtian glanced at Gong Sun Wuji with a mocking smile on his face. A figure could be seen flying toward them from afar. Didn't you say you were going to kill senior brother Duan Lingtian? Why are you fleeing back to the Azure Green Mansion? Gong Sun Wuji is a joke. Senior brother Duan Lingtian from our profound nether mansion is the best. At this moment, Gong Sun Wuji had to flee from him. The air above a hill. Some of the profound nether mansion's disciples had come to watch the battle as well. He studied Duan Lingtian. They did not have much confidence in Duan Lingtian. However, could sense the person in front of him, using his divine consciousness to scan his surroundings. At this moment, they're really not even 100 years old. On the other hand, are you really from the Southern Heaven Territory? Base had turned the handsome silent. Young man in when green Duan first exclaimed in surprise, used the law of space's and then teleportation he couldn't help but ask curiously. Many knowledgeable Azure Green Duan Mansion disciples replied, had already guessed the outcome the green-clad of this battle. Young man. However, even more people didn't know. Disciple of the now that they saw Gong Sun Wuji frowned slightly when he heard Duan the Azure Green Mansion's campsite. The curiosity in the depths of his eyes they couldn't help even more intense. Explain yourself. Most of the Azure Green Mansion's disciples had come to watch the show. They wanted to see Gong Sun Wuji. Once you're out of here, a core disciple come to the profound Nether Mansion, and I'll tell you, Duan Lingtian from the profound Nether Mansion. Faintly. However, impossible. Not only did they fail to defeat Duan Lingtian, if you want my points, but they were the ones you'll have to join forces with Wan Qing. How boring! Duan Lingtian was just casually asking from the profound Nether Mansion to be so strong. Xian would not take the initiative to give up the match for him. He had accumulated for so many days. Who in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm will be able to defeat him? As soon as Ximen Haoshuan finished speaking, the atmosphere of the scene became a little solemn again. Among the six strongest people in the past, apart from comprehended the law of the 5 elements, the other 5 aren't necessarily faster than Duan Lingtian and the law of ice. Moreover, he hasn't comprehended the 4 supreme laws. Senior Gong Sun Wuji might be able to flee, but they might not be able to. Rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. Duan Lingtian's appearance will break the balance in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient transmission, unless he's extremely unlucky. How definitely had comprehended the law of destruction. That was the Azure Green Mansion's disciples whispered among themselves with gloomy expressions on their faces. Was a very special law. Many of them left the middle realm from the law of the 5 elements, and it had nothing to do with the supreme laws. He's out. It could not be comprehended through celestial methods. Now that someone's coming out, divine abilities like the law of the 5 elements. I want to go in. It had to be comprehended at the teleportation points of the Azure Green Manor. The speed of comprehension was much faster than the 4 supreme laws. Saw someone coming out. In fact, and their eyes lit up. Slower than they felt that they could enter now. The 5 elements. Go in. In terms of strength, do you want to see how humiliated it was even the Azure Green Mansion than the law of the 5 elements? It's meaningless to go in. Among the 5 elements, if I knew this would happen, only the law of thunder have gone in, and the law of ice were derived from the law of the 5 elements. Could compare to the law of destruction. The group of Azure Green Mansion disciples the laws of lightning, the middle realm, and the laws of ice originated from the laws of the 5 elements. In the middle realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm. If one were to look at them from all aspects, what's going on? The laws of the 5 elements. Senior brother Gong Sun not based on the law of destruction? The Azure Green Mansion's disciples were dumbfounded. To the law of destruction. They only learned about what had happened. The law of destruction. When the people who came out of the transporting formations comprehended the law of the celestial. Gong Sun comprehended it. A core disciple of the Azure Green Mansion, celestial sword and the sword could defeat Duan Lingtian.
was forced to flee by Duan sword cultivators.
I'm not going
saber
in.
cultivators.
I'm not going
spear
in.
cultivators.
It's really
rod
boring.
cultivators, and
I'm
so
not
on.
going in as well.
They'll be able to
Apart
comprehend
from
the
the
law
Azure
of
Green
destruction
Mansion's disciples,
after they've comprehended
even the
it
Azure
to a
Green
certain
Mansion's
extent.
elders had
With
grim
this thought in
expressions
mind,
on their faces.
Duan Lingtian's
If Gong
gaze
Sun
turned
Wuji
solemn
could not
as he
defeat
looked at
Duan
Duan
Lingtian
in the middle
After
realm
all,
of the southern
those
heaven
who were
ancient
able
realm,
to comprehend the
who
law of
else in the Azure
destruction
Green
and
Mansion would be
specialized
able
in
to
one
defeat
offensive
Duan
technique,
Lingtian had to
it
be
was
strong
obvious
willed.
the Azure Green
Such a
Mansion's
person was not to
disciples
be
would not
trifled
be able
with.
to perform well
Duan Lingtian,
in the middle realm
why don't
of
we
the
make
southern
a bet?
heaven ancient
Ximen
realm this
Haoxian
month.
suddenly said.
It's a good thing
While
senior
Duan
brother
Lingtian
Gongsun
is
is
currently
Qing
ranked second,
and Ximen
with his
Haoxian were
ranking,
arguing with
he'll
each other.
definitely be able
He
to.
proposed to make
Many
a
of
bet
the
with
Azure
Duan
Green Mansion's
Lingtian.
disciples were
What's the
looking at
bet?
the scoreboard
Duan
with a relieved
Lingtian asked
expression on their
curiously as
faces
his eyes flashed.
when they saw Gongsun
If I eliminate
Wuji's
you
name and one
this was because
today,
Gongsun Wuji's
you'll have
name
to tell me your
had
origin.
disappeared from the scoreboard.
On the other hand,
If I'm eliminated,
Duan Lingtian,
I'll give you a
who was
floating
originally
image pearl
ranked
that
7th,
records the
had
battle
instead
between two
replaced the
celestial
person
kings
who was
who have
originally
comprehended
ranked first on
9
the
profundities
scoreboard.
from the
He
law
had
of
once
space.
again ascended
What do you
to the
think?
top of the scoreboard.
Not only did
Ximen
How's this
Haoxian
possible?
mention the price Duan
Senior
Lingtian
brother Gongsun
had
was
to pay if he
eliminated by
lost.
Duan Lingtian.
But he also mentioned the
Wasn't he
price
planning
he was
to
willing
flee?
to pay if he
Isn't
lost.
he faster than Duan
A floating
Lingtian?
image pearl
What's going
that
on?
records the battle
The
between
transporting
two celestial
formations
kings
in the Azure
who
Green
have
Mansion
comprehended
were in an
9
uproar.
profundities from
Nobody
the law of
expected
space.
Gongsun Wuji
As soon as
to
Ximen
be
Haoxian
eliminated
finished
by
speaking,
Duan Lingtian's
even
eyes
if
lit up.
Duan Lingtian's
If he could
speed was
obtain
not
such
much
a
slower than
floating image
Gongsun
pearl,
Wuji's,
it would greatly help him comprehend the transportation
if he
profundity,
wanted to,
and the
who
other
could tell
two
them what was
profundities
going
from
on
the
law of space. Sure. For this reason,
At
Duan
this
Lingtian
moment,
readily
the
agreed
people
to
who
the
had
bet.
witnessed Gongsun
Good.
Wuji's
That's
elimination
great. From the
Ximen
Azure Green
Haoxian
Mansion's
laughed heartily
campsite
when he
were
saw
even more
Duan
shocked.
Lingtian agreeing
To
to
be
the
more
bet.
precise,
They
Duan
had witnessed
Lingtian,
Gongsun Wuji
regardless
being
of whether
killed.
you're
If
eliminated
Duan
or I'm
Lingtian
eliminated
had only
today,
comprehended the
I'll go to the
teleportation
profound nether
profundity
mansion to
and
have
the
a drink with you.
transportation profundity
I just hope
from the
you'll
law of
welcome me at
space.
that time.
His speed
Ximen
would be
Haoxian
slightly
smiled.
slower than Gongsun
Of course, I'll
Wuji's.
welcome you.
If
Duan
Gongsun Wuji
Lingtian
wanted
had
to
a good
flee,
impression of
he could
Ximen
have easily
Haoxian, so he
escaped.
smiled back
However,
at Ximen Haoxian.
when Duan Lingtian
Since
caught
both
up to
of you are
Gongsun
joining
Wuji
forces
and killed
I'm sure
Gongsun
Wan Qing
Wuji
under
will be in
Gongsun
charge of
Wuji's
chasing after
incredulous
me,
gaze,
while you'll be in
the
charge of
onlookers
attacking.
realized something
To
was
be
amiss.
safe,
Even
won't
though
wait for
Duan
both of you
Lingtian
to
had
make the
killed
first
Gongsun
move.
Wuji earlier,
Ximen
he
Haoxian
had
still
smiled
held
faintly
back.
before he made
How
his move
terrifying.
before Duan Lingtian.
3 spatial tears
and
and
3
3
cross-dimensional
cross-dimensional
profundities
swoosh
surrounded
a gust of
Gongsun
wind
Wuji
stirred up
from
as
all
Ximen
directions.
Haoxian charged
toward
Gongsun
Duan
Wuji
Lingtian
didn't even have
like
time
an
to
arrow
dodge,
that had been released
tearing
from a bow.
3 spatial
Duan
tears
Lingtian
and
felt a
casting
sharp
3
aura surging
cross-dimensional
toward him when he
profundities
saw
at the
Ximen
same time.
Haoxian
I
charging
don't think
toward
the
him at
rudimentary
lightning
stage
speed.
of the
It was as though he was a
cross-dimensional
weapon
profundity
instead
is
of a
capable
person.
of that.
Swoosh.
Right?
Based on what I
Haoxian's
know,
body was as nimble
only
as
the
a
initial
snake.
stage of the
However,
cross-dimensional
when he approached
profundity
Duan Lingtian,
is capable
he
of
seemed to
tearing
have
3
lost his
spatial
balance.
tears.
In
In
the
the
next
next moment,
a black energy flashed around
Ximen
Ximen
Haoxian's body
Duan
before it
Lingtian
transformed
isn't
into
even
an
100
energy
years
sword
old,
that shrouded him.
but he's already
Swoosh.
a 10 directions
Ximen
celestial
Haoxian
duke.
shook his right hand.
How did he comprehend
and
the
a black sword
profundity
ray
of a
that
law
contained
to
the initial
terrifying
stage at such a
young
young
age
age toward Duan
inside
Lingtian?
and outside the
The
Azure
moment
Green
the sword
Mansion
appeared,
space?
it
The
seemed
people
as though
from
the
the
color
profound
of
heaven
heaven
and
and
earth
mansion
had changed,
and the other major
sword ray
celestial
contained a
mansions were
terrifying
stunned.
sword essence.
At this moment,
In the past,
their attention
Duan
was not on
Lingtian
Gongsun
had obtained
Wuji,
the inheritance
who had
from
just been
Feng
killed
Qingyang,
by Duan Lingtian,
a sword Dao powerhouse
but on
from the
Duan
Saint
Lingtian
Province realm.
himself.
Although his
Duan
attainments in
Lingtian
the sword
had
Dao were not
comprehended
as
the
high
law
as
of
Ximen
space's
Haoxian's,
cross-dimensional
it was not
profundity
difficult
to
for
the
him
initial
to sense how
stage.
terrifying
Normally,
Ximen
only
Haoxian's
those who
sword
had
ray was.
comprehended 9
Swoosh.
profundities,
The sharp
from a
sword
law
pierced
to the
through the
rudimentary
air.
stage,
It seemed as
would
though
have
the
a
void
chance
was
of
about to be
comprehending a
pierced by
profundity
it.
to the initial
Duan
stage.
Lingtian felt
Most of
goosebumps
those who had
rising on his
comprehended
scalp
profundities
when he
to
sensed
the
the
initial
sharp sword
stage
chi.
were celestial
He quickly
lords or
cast
stronger.
the law of space's
Even among immortal
teleportation
kings,
profundity.
there were very
Swoosh.
few people
Duan
who could
Lingtian
comprehend the
teleported
profound
100
meaning
meters
of a
behind
certain law
Ximen
to the initial
Haoxian.
stage. They had never heard of celestial
His
dukes
purple
before.
robe fluttered as
Even
the space
throughout the
territory mystery of the Southern Heaven territory. The void
had never
that was
heard of
shrouded
anyone
by the space
who had
territory
comprehended a
seemed to
profundity
tremble
to the
slightly.
initial stage of a
Moreover,
law,
the trembling
before becoming a
frequency was getting
celestial
faster
king.
and faster.
Duan
As
Lingtian must have
expected of the
concealed his
teleportation
strength.
profundity,
Hung Feng from
one
the
of the
martial
two most
battle
peculiar
mansion
speed
said with a solemn
profundities in
expression
heaven
on
and
his
earth.
face,
It's really impossible to guard against, hovering in the air above the
was
azure
not
green
surprised that
mansion's
his
base.
sword had missed.
Meanwhile,
If
Wan
Duan
Qingqian,
Lingtian could
who
not
was
even
standing
dodge
not
his
far
first
away
sword
from
ray,
him, was stunned.
he would not be
Her
able to
originally
defend
cold
himself.
and beautiful face
If that's
was
the
now
case,
filled with
take
shock and
another
horror.
sword ray from me.
What she had just
As soon
witnessed
as
was
Shi
too
Min
shocking
Haoxian
for
finished
her.
speaking,
Apart from
his
Hung
body
Feng,
trembled.
even
and
she
the
felt
black energy
Duan
halo on
Lingtian
his
had
body
concealed
began to
his
wreak
strength.
havoc.
In
A
fact,
terrifying
there
aura
was no
swept
need
out
for
for
Duan
Shi Min
Lingtian's
Haoxian's
to join
body.
forces with her.
Swoosh!
He was strong enough to dominate the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm.
A series of black
he would not find it
strange
emerged from the halo of
Tian
power around Shimen Haoxuan's body.
The
They rapidly revolved around Shimen
that he had
Haoxuan.
only comprehended
When the sword rays
previously
wreaked
in
havoc,
just half a month.
Shimen Haoxian
However,
exuded a
she did
terrifying
not believe that
destructive aura
Duan Lingtian
that seemed capable
had only
of destroying
comprehended
everything.
the cross-dimensional
As
profundity
soon as
to the
Shimen
initial
Haoxian
stage
turned
in just
around,
half a month.
a scoff rang in the
Since
air.
Duan Lingtian
It was none other
has
than
comprehended the
Qing.
cross-sectional
Even
profundity
Qing
to the
did
initial
not
stage.
react to Shimen
He should have
Haoxian's
comprehended
sudden attack.
the other 7
When
profundities
Qing
from the
saw
law of
Shimen
space
Haoxian ignoring
to the
her
rudimentary
and
stage
attacking
at the
Duan
very
Lingtian
least.
again,
Apart from
her
the fundamental
expression turned cold
immediately.
Among the spectating
Swoosh,
disciples
swoosh,
of various immortal
swoosh,
mansions,
swoosh,
there was no
swoosh.
lack of knowledgeable
In the
people
next moment,
who came to
a gust
such a
of
conclusion.
cold wind blew past,
and Qing was in the wind, heading straight for
It has
Shimen
been 2
Haoxuan.
months
since Duan
Swoosh,
Lingtian
swoosh,
entered the middle
swoosh.
realm of the southern heaven
Qing
ancient realm
moved with the wind
and killed
the emerald energy
in
on
the
her
azure
body
green mansion
surged.
space. It was the
After this
celestial
battle,
origin energy.
I'm certain no
that had
one in the
merged
middle
with the
realm
law
of the
of
woods
southern
with
heaven
elemental
ancient realm
profundity
will dare to
in the
challenge
next
him.
moment. Swoosh, 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 swoosh.
An ear-piercing sound rang in the air.
The emerald energy
Chapter
on Qing's
3178.
body transformed
You've
into
comprehended
vines
the
that
law
were
of
as thick
space
as
as
an
an
dimensional
adult's arm
profundity
and shot
to
toward
minor
Shimen
completion.
Haoxian.
Why
Why
did you ask
for my
help last
You can't
month?
trap me.
Shimen
Shimen Haoxuan
asked
faintly
Duan
smiled
Lingtian
in the
through
face
voice
of those
transmission.
vines which were
She
sweeping
could not help
towards
but
him
ask.
from all directions.
In his opinion,
Then,
since
all the
Duan
black sword
Lingtian
lights
had
around his body
comprehended the
whizzed
law
out.
of space's
Swoosh,
cross-dimensional
swoosh,
profundity to
swoosh,
the initial stage.
swoosh.
He was
Swoosh.
confident
The
Duan
black sword
Lingtian
rays collided
would be
with
able
the
to
emerald
defeat
green vines
and
that
kill
were
them
falling
even
from
if
the
he was
sky.
not as fast
The
as
emerald
them.
green vines were
speed of the
destroyed
dimensional
before they could even get
decapitation
close to
profound,
Shimen Haoxian,
which was at the minor
However,
completion realm.
after the emerald
was not
green
something
vines
that
were
the
destroyed.
6 people could
More
dodge with their
emerald green
speed.
vines shot
Take
toward
Gongsun
Shimen
Wuxia,
Haoxian,
the azure
evading
green
the black
mansion's
sword
core
rays.
disciple, for example.
It's useless.
He did not
Shimen
even have time to
raise
raise
his
hand
before he was
and a
killed
sword
by
that had
Duan
merged with the
Lingtian's
law of
dimensional
destruction's
fundamental
fundamental
profundity.
last month,
and the
I
destruction
didn't have a
elemental
breakthrough in the
profundity
dimensional
appeared out of thin air.
profundity. Swoosh.
Duan Lingtian
As Shimen
replied to Wan
Haoxuan casually
Qing's
waved his
question
sword a few
through
times.
voice transmission.
Those vines
This
near
was
him
not
were
a
chopped
secret,
into several
so
pieces,
there was nothing for him
and
to
instantly
hide.
lost their
It was
vitality,
fine as long as he
turning
did not
into
reveal
yellow
the
withered
quintessential
vines.
godhead.
At this
In
moment,
truth,
swoosh. Even
swoosh,
Duan Lingtian
swoosh,
did not
swoosh,
expect he would be
swoosh.
able to comprehend
Specks
the law
of
of
emerald
space's
green light
dimensional
poured down from the sky like the
to
Buddha's
minor
radiance
completion
illuminating
in such
the
a
world
short time,
and delivering
according
all
to the
living
chaos
things
divine
from torment.
flame.
The
Resplendent
quintessential
and dazzling.
godhead was the
These
quintessential
emerald green
godhead
specks of light
strongest
scattered on the
dimensional
severed withered
profundity
vines
when he was alive.
And at the same time,
that was why he
they
was able to
scattered on the
comprehend
emerald
the
green
law of
vines
spaces
that were
destroyed
destroyed by the
black
black
sword
profundity
rays that
in
filled
such
the
a
sky.
short period of
Those
time.
emerald green
Apart
vines,
from the fundamental
which had
profundity
originally been twisted
for any
into
law
pieces,
profundity,
actually
the initial
gathered together
realm
again,
and the initial
after
realm
coming
were
into
two completely
contact
different
with the emerald
concepts.
green light.
They could not be
Returning
compared
to a complete vine.
For this reason,
As for those
Duan
withered
Lingtian's
vines that had
strength
lost
had
their
increased by
vitality,
several levels.
not only did
After
they regain their
comprehending the law
vitality,
of space's
but they also
dimensional
regained their
profundity
emerald
to
green
minor
color.
completion stage.
Even the parts that
You
had
mean
been severed
you only
were
recently
reconnected.
comprehended
Whoosh,
the law of space's
whoosh,
dimensional
whoosh,
profundity
whoosh,
to minor
whoosh.
completion? Although Wan Qing found it hard to believe, she believed Duan Lingtian's
Chapter
words.
3168.
Yes. Duan
Child's play.
Lingtian nodded. Shimen Haoxuan,
What about the other
who was
profundities
trapped
from
in
the
the law
emerald
of
green
space,
cage surrounded
since you've
by
comprehended
vines,
the law
was
of
not
space's
nervous at all.
profundity to minor
His face
completion?
was calm and relaxed.
It means you've
Although Wan
comprehended all the
Qing's
profundities
binding
from the
technique
law
was
of
brilliant.
space. It was
right?
not enough to trap
Even
him.
so,
As
you're
long
not
as
any
he was
weaker
willing,
than Gongsun Wuji.
he would only need a few
Shimen
breaths to
Haoxuan
break
in the
Wan
others.
Qing's technique.
Why do you want to join forces
Wan
with me?
Qing had to
Wan
expend a lot of
Qing asked
celestial
again via
origin
voice
energy to
transmission.
cast this
She
technique.
seemed determined
It would be
to get to the
extremely
bottom of
difficult
this
for
matter.
her to cast
Duan
it again.
Lingtian was at a
At
loss
that
for
time,
words.
he would be able
In
to
any
easily
case,
eliminate
all
Wan
you need to know
Qing.
is that last
However,
month,
just
I
as
alone
Shimen
didn't
have
have
the
the
strength
strength
to
to spend a
eliminate
few
them.
breaths to
If
break
I had
Wan
a choice,
Qing's
I wouldn't
technique.
join forces
His
with
eyes
you.
flashed
After
and he saw a
Duan
figure
Lingtian
appearing
said
not
this,
far away from
his
him.
eyes lit up
The
as he
cage
looked
formed
at the
by Wan
disciples of the
Qing's
various
vines
immortal
had
mansions
completely blocked
present.
out all light.
These people
It
had
was
come to
completely
watch the
dark
battle
inside.
between him
However,
and Gongsun Wuji.
for someone with Shimen
Not good.
Haoxian's
When
cultivation
Duan
base,
Lingtian's wolf-like
the
gaze
darkness did not affect him at all, since the expressions of the disciples of the various immortal mansions, even if he did not use his night vision, immediately he could still a group of people wanted to flee with his divine consciousness. Duan Lingtian disappeared into thin air. The person who appeared in front of Ximen, Hao Xian was none other than several escaping inner palace disciples of an immortal mansion. Others would have to break their Qing's binding technique. Do you want me to do it? Enter the cage. Duan Lingtian smiled mockingly. Did not need to do so since he had comprehended the law of space's teleportation. It's all right, I'll do it myself. Buzz, I'll do it myself as well. Buzz, The few inner palace disciples who were blocked by Duan Lingtian had an unsightly expression on their faces, distorting his spatial energies. They did not dare to wait for Duan Lingtian. These spatial powers were like sharp saber lights and sword shadows, so they crushed their accumulative bursts of buzzing sounds. After obtaining their points, Duan Lingtian continued to look for more targets. However, apart from the disciples of the celestial origin energy and the martial battle mansion with the destruction, everyone else became his target and transformed into black sword rays that revolved around him to ward off the spatial energy. Since the disciples of the Azure Green Mansion were hiding in the Azure Green Mansion space, he could not make a move on them. Stared at Duan Lingtian, since no one dared to come out of the Azure Green Mansion space. Based on your actions, he did not eliminate anyone else from the Azure Green Mansion after to limit my speed. The disciples of the martial battle mansion had thought they would be in danger. However, words they were surprised that Duan Lingtian did not make a move on them to crush the accumulative point jade and leave. Junior sister Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll have to suffer some physical pain. Hung Feng smiled wryly as he looked at once he fought with Shimin Haoshuan. It was not difficult for him to guess why Duan Lingtian his full strength did not make a move on the disciples of the martial battle mansion. The shockwaves from their battle were not enough to destroy Wan Qing's vines. He could not think of any other reason. Short time. In the Azure Green Mansion space, it was only enough to destroy it in a short period of time. Spread like wildfire in the Azure Green Mansion in a short time. When the Manor Master of the Azure Green Manor gathered the upper echelons of the Azure Green Manor for a meeting, Wan Qingqing had told him furious that if her binding of vines was destroyed to pieces, she would need to rest for at least half a day profound nether mansion has killed the same level of binding of vines. From now on, therefore, he only had for the Azure Green Mansion to obtain any benefits just from the 10 major clans in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm. In order to defeat Shimin Haoshuan in the shortest time possible, to die. You better pray that I don't run into him. Did not want to give Shimin. If I do, I'll tear him to pieces. An advantage in terms of speed. The high-ranking officials of the Azure Green Mansion were furious. Words. The Chaos Divine Earth was the Azure Green Mansion's trump card in the middle realm. Although I'm not as helpful as the profound divine metal and the Chaos Divine Flame, I'm still comparable to an offensive profundity. The Azure Green Mansion had suffered an unprecedented loss. Outside the binding of vines, this was the first time the Azure Green Mansion had suffered such a heavy loss in a battle. From the beginning, with the profound nether mansion, had been using all her strength to resist the binding of the vines. One of the Vice Mansion Masters of the Azure covered in sweat, said in a deep voice, "This was because the shockwaves from the battle were too strong. Gang. It was not as simple as the shockwaves." After receiving permission from the Mansion Master of the Azure Green Mansion, but the shockwaves from their battle are already giving Azure so much pressure. Immediately, if Shimin Haoshuan attacks with all his might in the Blood Skull It'll take him a few breaths to break through my defenses. A strange expression soon appeared on his face. They're not targeting me at all. What's wrong? After 4 breaths. Don't tell me Duan Lingtian was as pale as a sheet of paper. Some kind of shocking background. She was not as pale as a sheet of ice, gang doesn't but she was under too much pressure. The Blood Skull Gang is one of the top assassin organizations in the Southern Heaven Territory. Wan Qingqing was starting to panic. To kill Duan Lingtian. She discovered she had completely underestimated the aftershock of the fight between Duan Lingtian and Shimin Haoshuan. The aftershock of the fight was not much weaker than the Azure Green Mansion asked curiously when they saw the strange expression on the Vice Mansion Master's face. She did not even have the time to send a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian, let alone use her divine consciousness to check the situation inside. And he said there's no need for me to issue a mission to kill Duan Lingtian. The moment she relaxed, this is because the Blood Skull Gang has already issued a mission to kill Duan Lingtian. It seems like we won't be able to eliminate Shimin Haoshuan even if we join forces. There's already a mission to kill Duan Lingtian. Heart was filled with bitterness. It seems like Duan Lingtian has offended many people. She did not think Duan Lingtian would be able to defeat Shimin Haoshuan and save a lot of celestial crystals. Even if Shimin Haoshuan could not make use of his speed, in the profound nether mansion strength, a commotion broke out when news of Gongsun Wuji's death. This was disciple of the Azure understanding of Duan Lingtian's strength. Gongsun Wuji from the Azure Green Mansion is dead. Moreover, he was killed by Duan Lingtian. She had been eliminated by Shimin Haoshuan. I didn't expect Gongsun Wuji would die one day. My cousin was killed by him. After 5 breaths, Wan Qingqing was shocked to discover did senior brother Duan Lingtian had disappeared. How is he so powerful that he can even kill Gongsun Wuji had disappeared? I heard that not only has senior brother Duan Lingtian comprehended all the profundities from the pressure that had enveloped her body, but he has also comprehended her unable to breathe had completely vanished to the initial stage. Thank you for showing mercy. He has comprehended the cross-dimensional was about to extend the initial stage to investigate the situation. As far as I know, there hasn't been anyone below the celestial king king stage.
This voice,
who has comprehended a profundity
lit up when she heard the voice
in the history of the Southern Heaven
Ancient
Realm,
voice,
right?
In the
Senior
next
brother
moment,
Duan
Lingtian
has created history in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven
appeared
in front of her.
Meanwhile,
the elders and disciples of the
purple
profound
robe had a few
mansion
cuts,
were shocked
but
by
there were no
Duan
wounds on the
Lingtian's
parts of
strength.
his robe that
They
were
were
cut.
delighted by Gongsun
Apparently,
Wuji's
only
death.
his robe was
Meanwhile,
damaged, and he was
Duan
fine.
Lingtian was
On the
still
other
in the
hand,
middle realm of the
Shimen
Southern
Haoxuan
Heaven
had more than
realm.
a dozen wounds on his body.
Senior brother
Especially
Duan
the one on
Lingtian's
his
points
chest.
have exceeded
It was a
1,000
ghastly
again.
sight. At
If
this
Duan
moment,
Lingtian had
a
gone
group
a
of
little
disciples
lower,
from the
Shimen
profound
Haoxuan
Nether
would have
mansion
died.
witnessed Duan
Don't forget the
Lingtian's
bet
between
points
us.
surpassing
Duan
1,000 points
Lingtian
again.
looked deeply at
After
Shimen
he ranked
Haoxuan and
first
said,
in the middle realm
"Don't
of the
worry,
Southern Heaven
I'll
Ancient
deliver
Realm.
it to you personally."
Amazing. Amazing. It's expected. After
Since
Shimen
senior brother
Haoxuan
Duan
recovered from his
Lingtian
injuries,
managed to kill
he took out
Gongsun
his
Wuji,
accumulative points
he should be
jade
able to
and
eliminate
smiled
those
at
5
Duan
people as
Lingtian.
well.
At this moment,
Those 5 people
Shimen
must know that
Haoxian
senior
did not
brother
seem
Duan
like a person
Lingtian
who had
killed
just
Gongsun
walked past
Wuji.
the gates of
I'm
hell.
afraid they won't
He
even
seemed
have the
completely
courage
fine
to
as he
fight
smiled
senior
at
brother
Duan
Duan
Lingtian,
Lingtian, who had
I
almost
didn't
killed
expect
him.
the profound
I'll
Nether
wait for
mansion
you.
to be invincible in the middle
nodded.
realm of the Southern
There's
Heaven
no need
Ancient
for
Realm
that.
one day.
I'll ask my
Senior
junior
brother
uncle to
Duan
bring me to
Lingtian
the
is so
profound
strong.
Nether mansion
I'm
after I
afraid he
leave.
won't be staying
By
in
the
the
time you
profound
leave the
Nether
middle
mansion
realm
for
of the
long.
Southern Heaven
Senior
Ancient
brother
Realm,
Duan Lingtian
I should be there as well.
is not even 100
Shimen
years
Haoxuan
old.
said. But he
Shimen
has such
Haoxuan was a
achievements.
core
He
disciple
won't
of
be
the great
staying in the
Six
profound Nether
mansion.
mansion for
He
long.
was quite popular
I'm afraid
among his
it won't
peers.
be long before
Therefore,
the Sioux clan takes
he would
him
be
away.
informed about the changes
Every
in the
grade 6
scoreboard
celestial
from time
mansion
to
was
time.
governed by a
For
clan.
this reason,
The
he
10 major
roughly knew when
clans were in
Duan
charge of
Lingtian
each grade
would
6
enter the middle
celestial
realm of the
mansion.
Southern Heaven
The Sioux
Ancient
clan
Realm,
was in charge
and
of the
when Duan
profound Nether
Lingtian
mansion
would leave the middle
Duan
realm of the
Lingtian,
Southern Heaven
you've
Ancient
obtained
Realm.
1,000 points.
I'll look for you for
Come
a drink
out.
later.
The person
Shimen
from the
Haoxuan
Imperial
smiled
Tutor
at
Mansion
Duan
wants to
Lingtian.
see you. Before he
After
crushed
receiving
the
the
accumulated
message from the
points
mansion
jade in his
master
hand.
of the profound
After
Nether
Shimen
mansion,
Haoxuan left,
Qi Tian
Duan
Ming,
Lingtian
the
immediately
inspector of
took
the
out his
profound Nether
accumulated
mansion,
points jade.
immediately
It was
sent
clear
a
Shimen
message to
Haoxuan
Duan
was
Lingtian,
curious about his
who
current
was still in the
points.
middle realm
Shimen
of the Southern
Haoxuan
Heaven
was one of the
Ancient
top
Realm.
6
Qi
participants
Tian
in
Ming
the
was
middle
also
realm
aware
of
that
the
Duan
Southern
Lingtian
Heaven
had
Ancient
killed
Realm.
Gongsun Wuji.
He was even ranked
He was
first on the
also shocked
scoreboard
by the
many
news
times.
that Duan Lingtian,
Before he eliminated
had
Shimen
comprehended
Haoxuan,
the cross-dimensional
Shimen Haoxuan's
ranking
ranking
was
to the
already
initial
higher
stage.
than his.
He was skeptical.
He did not
and
know his
wondered
current
if the people
ranking.
who spread the news
After
were
all,
intentionally
Shimen
exaggerating
Haoxuan
the truth.
and the other participants
Therefore,
had been in
he
the
planned
top
to
6
ask
for
for
more
more
than
than 6
Lingtian about it
years.
when he
The
returned
gap
to the
between
Duan
their points
Lingtian
was very
mansion
small.
to verify
It was
the
easy for them
authenticity
to
of the
overtake
rumor.
those who were ranked ahead of them. How many points do I have now? If you've
Duan
really
Lingtian
comprehended the
was not the only one
cross-dimensional
who was
profundity
curious
to the
about his
initial
current
stage,
points.
the person
Even
from the
Qing
Imperial
was
Tutor
curious
Mansion
about
will
Duan
definitely
Lingtian's
end the
points.
test and allow you to join the
1,207.
Imperial Tutor Mansion.
Duan Lingtian put
After
his
Qi
accumulative
Tianming
points
sent
jade
the first
away
message
and looked
he
at
sent
Wan
a second
Qingqing
message
with a
to
bright
Duan
smile on
Lingtian.
his face.
After
This
receiving
was
the
Wan
2 messages
Qingqing's
from
first
Qi
time
Tianming,
seeing
Duan Lingtian
Duan
smiling
Lingtian
like this,
returned to the
she was
profound
stunned
Nether
for a
mansion's
moment
base
before she regained
and
her
returned
senses
to the profound
when
Nether
Duan
mansion.
Lingtian stopped
Along the
smiling.
way, at this
Duan
moment,
Lingtian was
even
greeted
Wan
warmly by
Qingqing
the
herself
elders and
didn't notice
disciples
that
of
a
the
faint
profound
blush
Nether
had
mansion
appeared on her
who
cheeks.
recognized him.
It could be
Congratulations
said that he was the
Wan
most popular
Qingqing
person in the
congratulated
profound
Duan
Nether
Lingtian
mansion
when she learned about
after
Duan
leaving the middle
Lingtian's
realm.
current points.
Duan Lingtian
With your
went
current
to look for
points,
Qi Tianming.
you'll definitely
I'll
rank
bring you
first
there.
in the middle realm
As soon
of
as
the Southern
Duan
Heaven
Lingtian
Ancient
arrived,
Realm this month.
Qi Tianming
Based
brought
on what
Duan
I know,
Lingtian to the
it has been
Imperial
12
Tutor
years
Mansion.
since anyone has accumulated more than 1,000 points in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven Ancient Realm. In Wan Qingqing's opinion,
Chapter
Duan
3179.
Lingtian's current points
Yes,
were enough to rank
Duan
first in the
Lingtian
middle
nodded in
realm of the
response
middle
to Qi
realm of the
Tianming's
Southern
question.
Heaven Ancient Realm.
This was no longer a
I'm
secret.
sure those who are paying
Many
attention
people from
to
the
the
celestial
middle realm
mansion
of the
had
Southern
witnessed
Heaven
him killing
Ancient Realm
Gongsun
scoreboard
Wuji
are
from the
dumbfounded.
Azure Green Mansion.
None of them expected
Gasped.
you to eliminate
Although Qi
Shimen Haoxuan
Tianming was prepared
the
for
people
this,
from the Red
he
Leaves
could not
Mansion
help but gasp
must be
when he
even
heard
more
Duan
dumbfounded.
Lingtian's confirmation.
I'm sure they didn't
When
expect
did you
Shimen
comprehend it?
Haoxuan.
Last Last
who
month,
they thought was invincible,
you had to join
in the
middle
forces
realm
with
of the
Wan
southern
Qing
heaven
to
ancient
eliminate
realm,
Ximen,
would be
Hao
eliminated
Xian from
one
the Red
day.
Leaves Mansion.
Wan Qing's words were
first
true.
in the middle realm
When
of the
Ximen
southern
Hao
heaven
Xian
ancient
appeared
realm,
at one of the portals
Qi
in the Red
Tianming
Leaves
asked
Mansion
curiously,
that led
a
to
few
the
days
middle
ago,
realm of the southern
before I
heaven
entered the
ancient
middle
realm,
realm of the southern
everyone
heaven
was
ancient
stunned.
realm.
Duan Lingtian replied nonchalantly. Qi Tianming's lips twitched when he heard Duan Lingtian's words.
Chapter 3169.
What about the
Ximen
other
Hao
profundities
Xian was
from
a
the
core
law
disciple
of
of the
space?
Red Leaves
Have
Mansion.
you comprehended all
was
of them
not
to
even
the
1,000
rudimentary
years
stage?
old.
But
No.
he was already the
Duan
strongest
Lingtian
person
shook his
below
head.
the celestial
I haven't
king realm
comprehended
in the
two
Red Leaves
profundities
Mansion.
from the law of
In
space.
fact, even
Apart
in the
from
other
the space
celestial
elemental
mansions in the
profundity,
southern heaven
he had
territory,
also comprehended the
no one
territory
below the
profundity,
celestial king realm
the restraining
dared
profundity,
to say they could
the
defeat
distortion
Ximen Hao
profundity,
Xian. The teleportation profundity, Hao Xian had been eliminated by someone else. And how could the elders and disciples of the Red Leaves Mansion accept this? He had comprehended 7 profundities from the law of space. What's going on? There were 9 profundities from the law of space. Who eliminated you? Apart from that 2 of the 5 have comprehended the other 2 profundities. The disciples of the Red Leaves Mansion looked at Ximen. He had comprehended 7 profundities from the law of space on their faces. Apart from the basic profundity eliminated, he had already comprehended the Red Leaves Mansion looked at Ximen to the initial stage. Hao Xian with disbelief in their eyes. As for the other 5 profundities, Hao Xian had only comprehended the rudimentary stage. This was the first time Hao Xian comprehended and the other 5 people were eliminated from the middle realm of the Southern Heaven so much that he came to a halt. Since they were ranked in the top 6, he turned to look at Duan. I was eliminated by 2 people with an incredulous expression on his face. However, not one of the 5 people. Is what you said true? Haoxuan said unhurriedly with a calm expression while facing gazes filled with shock, confusion, was so shocked, disbelief, generally and even disbelief. To comprehend the profundity to the initial his gaze to the scoreboard in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven rudimentary stage first. It seems like he's going to rank first a greater opportunity to comprehend the profundities of that law to the minor accomplishment realm. Name on the scoreboard. Out of 10,000 people, what an interesting fellow. 9,999 Hao Xian did not seem disheartened at all. Nothing was absolute. He remained calm as though nothing had happened. People who could comprehend a certain profundity of a law to the initial stage in advance. He was convinced he was defeated by people with extraordinary comprehension abilities. Naturally, I thought you were only able to comprehend the law of space and allowed Wan Qing because of the heaven sacrificial divine fruit. If he had not been careless, however, it would have been difficult like your comprehension of the law of space is 1 in a million. If Wan Qing had focused on restraining him, spatial laws were very difficult to comprehend in the first place. He would have been defeated in the end. People who could comprehend it were in the minority. Out of 10,000 people who comprehended the law of space, was well aware of this. Only one person would be able to comprehend the initial stage of the law of space for Duan Lingtian. Before comprehending the full profundity of the law of space. Because of this, in his opinion, Haoxuan wasn't discouraged by the fact that he had been defeated by Duan Lingtian. The reason Duan Lingtian had been able to comprehend the dimensional profundity when Haoxuan looked at the scoreboard so quickly was because of the paramount Godhead. However, since he possessed the paramount Godhead, his comprehension of the first on the scoreboard had already changed hands. In fact, in this world, first place perhaps has changed only other people who possess the paramount Godhead would be able to comprehend the law of space. When the group of Red Leaves Mansion's elders and disciples saw that the person arrived at the Imperial Tutor Pavilion again wasn't one of the 5 people they had expected. As soon as Duan Lingtian and Qi Tianming arrived at the illusory formation ranked first outside the Imperial Tutor Pavilion from the profound Nether Mansion. The illusory formation disappeared. No wonder senior brother Ximen could even speak. Hao Xian said it wasn't the 5 people who eliminated him. As it turns out, it was after the illusory formation disappeared, and Wan Qing who eliminated him. One of the Red Leaves standing in the void not too far away. The first to regain his senses. The figure was looking at him. The next moment, Qi Tianming calmly, to be more precise, the figure was looking at him. Sounds of figure was a tall, cold, burly, middle-aged man with a dignified expression. Red Leaves Mansion's he was dressed in a dark green robe. Were all shocked. The Imperial Tutor never Pavilion's have pavilion master, the core disciple of the Red Leaves Mansion, was trying to guess the identity of the person was eliminated in front of Duan Lingtian from the profound Nether Mansion, standing in the void in front of them, and Wan Lord Mansion Master are capable of defeating the 6 strongest people in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven ancient realm. He had guessed wrongly. If they joined forces, he followed Qi Tianming and bowed to the person standing in front of them. Mansion Master. As it turned out, this person was the Mansion Master of the profound Nether Mansion. The Mansion Master of the profound Nether Mansion nodded at Duan Lingtian with a smile on his face. Duan Lingtian, you've done well in the middle realm of the Southern Heaven ancient realm. The profound Nether Mansion won't mistreat you. Now follow me to meet my Grandmaster. As soon as the Mansion Master finished speaking, he turned around and led the way. At the same time, he turned around and said to Qi Tianming, Inspector Qi, you can leave now. Grandmaster? Duan Lingtian was stunned. The person standing in the Imperial Tutor Pavilion. I think he's Lord Mansion Master's Grandmaster. Qi Tianming sent a voice transmission to Duan Lingtian before he cupped his fists and left. The Pavilion Master of the Imperial Tutor Pavilion is the Mansion Master of the profound Nether Mansion's Grandmaster? Duan Lingtian was shocked. He did not expect the Pavilion Master of the Imperial Tutor Pavilion to be the Mansion Master of the profound Nether Mansion's Grandmaster. Duan Lingtian followed the Mansion Master of the profound Nether Mansion into the Imperial Tudor Pavilion, and followed the mansion master of the profound nether mansion to the backyard of the Imperial Tudor Pavilion. The backyard was vast and half of it was a lake. At this moment, a skinny and short old man, wearing a bamboo hat, could be seen fishing at the side of the lake. Grandmaster. The mansion master of the profound nether mansion bowed respectfully at the old man. I've brought him here. As soon as the mansion master of the profound nether mansion finished speaking, the old man put down his fishing rod and stopped fishing. The old man stood up and turned to look at Duan Lingtian. His eyes that were initially cloudy were now deep and profound, as though he could see through a person's heart. When the old man looked at him, Duan Lingtian felt as though he was being seen through. I thought you'd need some time to complete the test I set for you. I didn't expect you to be strong enough to defeat everyone in the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm in just 2 months. As soon as the old man spoke, Duan Lingtian recognized the old man's voice as the pavilion master of the Imperial Tudor Pavilion. In that case, you've passed the test. The old man continued to say, from today onward, you, Duan Lingtian, are the new Imperial Tutor of the profound nether mansion. The Imperial Tudor Pavilion will be restored to its former glory. As soon as the old man finished speaking, his eyes shone brightly, as though they could illuminate heaven and earth. Thank you, Senior. Because he was mentally prepared, Duan Lingtian was not surprised and calmly thanked him. You may return first. The old man glanced at the mansion master of the profound nether mansion indifferently before he left. At this moment, only the old man and Duan Lingtian were left in the backyard of the Imperial Tudor Pavilion. Previously, I've asked you why you want to become the Imperial Tutor of the profound nether mansion. Since you've answered me, I won't ask you again, the old man said. Duan Lingtian remembered the old man had asked him the same question previously. At that time, he had answered the old man. If he became the Imperial Tutor of the profound nether mansion, he would be able to enter the profound nether mansion through a shortcut. Apart from that, he wanted to use the profound nether mansion as a stepping stone to leave the southern heaven territory. With your current strength, it's meaningless for you to enter the middle realm of the southern heaven ancient realm. Here, take these 2 celestial fruits. The old man casually tossed 2 celestial fruits to Duan Lingtian. One was red and the other was green. The red one was hot while the green one was cold. These are. Duan Lingtian instinctively caught the 2 celestial fruits. His eyes widened as he looked at the celestial fruits. The Ice King celestial fruit and the Fire King celestial fruit? Boy, you're quite knowledgeable to recognize these 2 celestial fruits. The old man was surprised to see Duan Lingtian calling out the names of the 2 celestial fruits. Since you know their names, I'm sure you know their effects as well. In that case, I won't explain it to you, the old man said. From the beginning until now, the expression on the old man's face had not changed at all. It was as if nothing could change the expression on his face. However, Duan Lingtian did not hear the old man's words. His attention was completely focused on the 2 celestial fruits in his hands. He had only read about these 2 celestial fruits in the Memory Celestial Talisman in the Simplicity Celestial Sects library. This was his first time seeing them in person. Both the Fire King celestial fruit and the Ice King celestial fruit were extremely rare celestial fruits. Even if such celestial fruits were sold in the black market, their value would not be lower than an ordinary royal-grade celestial weapon. Moreover, one of the celestial fruits was worth more than the other. The Fire King celestial fruit and the Ice King celestial fruit were worth more than 1 + 1. It was comparable to a purely defensive royal-grade celestial weapon. The reason these 2 celestial fruits were so valuable was due to their heaven-defying effects. It was common knowledge that in the Devata realms, the higher a celestial's cultivation base was, the harder it was to raise one's cultivation base. This was especially true for the gap between 2 major stages. However, these 2 celestial fruits were enough for a 10-direction celestial dupe to break through and become a celestial king. Although one would only be a 1 basic celestial king, it was still heaven-defying. After all, some people might be stuck at the level of a 10 directions celestial duke for the rest of their lives. However, if they consumed these 2 celestial fruits, they would be able to break through and become a 10 directions celestial duke. These 2 immortal fruits could be said to have the ability to defy the heavens and change the fate of those people. Senior, are you really going to give these 2 celestial fruits to me? When Duan Ling Tian finally regained his senses with great difficulty, he gasped and looked at the old man before him with uncertainty. Why would I take them out if I don't give them to you? The corners of the old man's mouth curled up into a rare smile. Thank you, Senior. Although Duan Ling Tian knew there would be many benefits to becoming the imperial tutor of the profound Nether Mansion, he did not expect the old man would give him a Fire King celestial fruit and an Ice King celestial fruit as a welcome gift. Was this welcome gift not a little too extravagant? There's one more thing. In a few days, the people from the Su clan will be here. At that time, it won't be easy for me to hide you. The old man's expression turned solemn as he looked at Duan Ling Tian and said, I can promise you that the benefits you'll receive in the profound Nether Mansion will be more than what you'll receive in the Su clan. Naturally, when the time comes, I won't let you stay in the profound Nether Mansion. I'll personally send you to the Su clan. With your strength at that time, you'll definitely receive the best treatment in the Su clan. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.